because this champ teaches the fundamentals and has the ability to carry and impact every single game.
I'm Nathan Mott from We Teach League, and we help over 3,000 members get better at League of Legends in our coaching programs. Today, I'm sitting down with Coach Mysterias. He's recently done a climb to Challenger exclusively with Syndra. We're going to show exactly what to prioritize and how to structure your Syndra gameplay and play mid lane mages in general. Let's get straight into the details. Okay, Mysterias/Tim. For people watching, I'm going to be calling Tim instead of Mysterious because that's how I know him. Tim, we are going to be covering Syndra today, and we're going to start off with runes, builds, skill order. This is the account of the game that we're going to be looking at. This is the the Master Plus game here on EU West. Because you're so naturally talented at Syndra, Tim, we've got 64% win rate here on Syndra. We only needed one game, so I only have one game to look at build sample size. We will go over LoL Analytics and take a look at some general things around how people are building Syndra. But let's talk about builds, runes, all that. So, talk about this game. What are we doing here? Is there a cookie cutter build with Syndra? Like, what do we do? How do we build this champion so we can do damage?
Absolutely. Like, there's two different runes and build setup that you can go for. First of all, you can go for a little bit more scaling oriented, which is First Strike. And you can go a little bit more laning pressure and early game control when you go either Airy or Comet. In this game, I went for First Strike. I think it naturally lines up a little bit better with Syndra's identity of a scaling mage, especially since the recent changes that they made to her. But if you want to go Comet or Airy because you need a lane pressure, that's completely fine. Now let's get specific on these runes. Why did I specifically take these runes? Well, this is a very scaling-oriented rune page. We get a lot of money, and Syndra is a burst-oriented mage, which means that First Strike is really good with her. We then take the free boots because that means that we can invest every single penny into our first item spike. Plus, the increased movement speed is really OP. And we're going to go deeper on that later in the video. Why is movement speed such an OP stat on Syndra? But first, the triple tonic. Triple tonic is very nice because it gives us all-in power on level 6, specifically with our ult kill threat and the extra AP. Massive damage. But more importantly, the Elixir of Skill is just an incredible rune because it gives you 5 extra passive stacks and gets you earlier towards these extra level upgrades, which especially on your W is really valuable because of how much extra damage that it deals. Syndra loves haste. It's just that simple. The more haste, the more E uptime that we have. So that's why we opted for Transcendence and Jack of all trades. And I'm personally a little bit of a mana flow banned goblin. There's people saying that they can play Syndra in the mid game without this rune. Personally, I can't. I'm just spamming and hitting all my E's. But if you don't throw as many E's as I do, maybe you don't need a mana flow ban. Maybe you can go for a Gathering Storm.
So you'd go Gathering Storm instead. So Transcendence, Gathering Storm. So that's like, I mean, you say this is scaling. This is even more extreme scaling. If you're
even more scaling.
Right? That's like, is that too
much?
It's too much for you, Tim. You need to be throwing, your Qs around with Mana Flow Band.
If you want to one-shot people at minute 40 in the game with WQ combinations, definitely go Gathering Storm. But I don't get there. I don't get there myself.
So you like this a lot. You don't really change anything here. If you're going to go this whole mindset, your champ identity more so scaling, this is the build. Like you don't change things at all for the runes specifically.
Absolutely, this is right. And one more thing I want to highlight. We take the haste shard. You only take the haste shard in matchups that you can get away with taking the haste shard, because haste shard's a lot better than attack speed shard. But if you play against mages or champs in the early game that you want to pressure a little bit more, you want to be opting in for the attack speed shard because of how good it is for wave control. But since in this case, I don't need it, I rather opt in for the scaling health, ability haste, and your transition into mid game is going to be so smooth.
Then the adaptive force, obviously, here. And then talk to me about the scaling health versus flat health.
Okay. It's a very similar mindset. Are we contesting lane or are we scaling up into the mid game? The breakpoint is level 7. So if I can get to level 7 without doing anything crazy or without having any crazy stuff happening in the game, I'm going to be taking the scaling health. If I need to contest lane or I need to contest prio in the early game, I'm going to take more offensive early game runes and also flat health. In this case, I'm playing versus an Olaf, and this might sound like a completely crazy matchup. Why are we looking at an Olaf matchup? Well, it's actually the perfect matchup to break down how Syndra wants to play, because it's all about classic Syndra reference points. And that's also what we're going to be seeing in the example. It's just nice, copy and paste, chuck it in your own game, and you can exactly play Syndra to a really high level.
Love it. I love a copy and paste. That's what jungle. A lot of the time with jungle, it's a lot of, same, runes build. You don't really cook. A lot of it's very sort of standard. So copy and paste is definitely. I'm a big fan of that. I did like an episode with Luca with Aatrox top lane, and we're just talking about like all these different builds, rune combination matchups. It's like this is just too hard for me, man.
Yeah.
So cool. Okay, so then let's talk about So always Dorans, 2 pots, yellow trinket. And then is this our ideal first base? This seems like an awesome first base. This seems like best case scenario here. Tell me about the first base options you have.
That's exactly what I'm saying here, Nathan. It's just a copy and paste pure Syndra reference.
Okay, so you can get this every single time. You're basically saying pretty guaranteed.
If you know how to lane and know the Syndra reference points, you can get this insanely consistent.
Wow. Okay.
Very specifically.
Very fascinating. Yeah.
My mindset in the game, if I play this scaling, this first strike Syndra setup, is I want to get to my lost chapter as clean and as solid as possible. Very specifically with my Q upgrade, because that's when I become a real champion with this setup. So I'm just slowing down the lane, taking it as slow as possible, getting as much gold, resetting on lost chapter, and that's when I'm really starting to play.
Okay. Blackfire Torch, first item.
Blackfire Torch. Yeah, so you got a few different options. You can go Blackfire, you can go Ludens. Personally, I'm a big haste fan. You see that this build, it has Blackfire Torch into Cosmic Drive. A lot of haste that you're going to be rocking up. Insane scaling. Blackfire Torch is a little bit better scaling. Ludens, a little bit better in the early game. More burst damage. But the interaction between Blackfire Torch and Cosmic Drive means that you get extra movement speed. Combining this with the Swifty boots and with how valuable movement speed is on Syndra, very specifically, why is it so valuable? We're an immobile mage with skill shots. So if we get a lot more move speeds, it's easier for us to kite away from enemy threats. But more importantly, if we have a lot of move speed and we are faster than an enemy champion, what will happen, especially in higher elos, is that they know the exact range of your E. But if you are faster, you can chase them for 2 seconds, and then you might just get an E range while otherwise you would not. And this is really the difference maker of why you run these move speed oriented setups in this champ, because your mid game just explodes if you can land this extra ease. That's what mid game is all about on this champ.
So you're talking about you love your movement speed here, Tim. You go boots of swiftness. Yeah. Is this the only boots you go?
No, you can also go sorcery shoes if you are solo AP. But look what I got. I got myself a cannon top. So the value from flat magic penetration is just a little bit worse than if I would be going, I would have like a Fiora top. Maybe if I had a Fiora top, I would go Luden Storm Surge with swords, But since I've got multiple AP threats, I don't want to dabble into that stuff because the value is lower.
So I don't see tier 1 boots here. Is this because this buy was just too good? Like, will you always be looking to get your first item complete, then you're building boots flat out? What's the idea here? Do you run around with tier 1 boots? It depends on your buy.
Look at the runes, Nathan.
Whoops. That makes sense. Okay, so that's why you like to go that, because you want to rush this item. Again, you're just saving every little bit of gold, so then you can sort of scale up. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's makes sense. So that's clean. This looks very clean. It's first clean item. Then we go to Vicious Swiftness. Okay. And then talk about the whole Dark Seal Magi's thing. So Syndra, people might be really scared to build Magi's because they're like, Tim, I die as Syndra. I'm very squishy and mobile, right? Like I die a lot. Like I'm way too scared to build Magi's. You're like a psycho for building this, especially against these 2 champions.
So Magi's was just completely built at that point because it was built because I had 10 stacks on Dark Seal and the gold value lined up well. That was the only reason why I built it. Magi's for me is usually a bonus. Matter of fact, Dark Seal is a bonus for me. I don't aim for Dark Seal. It's something that just pops up on my path. And if I have my nice base up on Lost Chapter and I got extra money, great, I'll buy the Dark Seal. But Lost Chapter is just what I'm aiming for.
So you could just skip this in some games. You would just skip it just the way it goes, and then the Magi's isn't even going to be a thing. Okay, it's just opportunistic. I see.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, so always Cosmic Drive second. So this is your 2 core items. So Blackfire or Ludens into Cosmic. Is that correct?
I'm going to make it even better for you. You see those 110 Syndra games on the left, Nathan? This
Yes,
is
I
when I
do.
climbed the Challenger early
Yep.
this season, like 2 months ago. What happened? I played this exact build 110 games in a row,
Wow.
copy and paste, no changes. Like these first 2 items, right? Third item is when I made variations. But first 2 items, including boots, I just bought the shit on cooldown. No changes.
I love the confidence, Tim.
Yep.
Zhonya's?
Yes. Well, you said, right, the enemies, they do have quite a bit of threat. Zone, they've got the Olaf, they got a bit of Pantheon dive, they got potentially the Gragas that can be annoying. So since I'm running 10 stacks on the Dark Seal, and we were in an advantageous position in the game, we're slightly ahead. If I'm ahead, I'm building defensively. If I'm behind, I'm going to build a little bit more offensively.
And you said that, you copy and paste this, so you're not going to be building Zhonya's that much in certain games, or when you're, or is this, or you always looking to build Zhonya's if you are, if you're ahead?
So first 2 items are just copy paste. The rest really depends upon the game. If the enemies have 3 magic damage threats, I'm going Banshees. If I am a little bit behind or I need to be the damage dealer, I'm going Robodons. If they have a lot of magic resist, I'm going Void or Criploom, right? It's just being flexible starting from third item onward, but 1 and 2 was just complete copy and paste for me. Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like you're finishing off Death Cap here, so this will be usually a Death Cap here. What other items we're looking to other potentials? Banshees. It sounds like you always so you always like at least one defensive item in your
one defensive
build.
Item.
Okay, you need one defensive as in Syndra. So either
that's right.
Zhonya's or Banshees.
That's right.
And skill order.
Very
simple.
simple.
Is this copy paste?
Always max Q first, then max W first, then max E first. So QWE max is always guaranteed. There's only one difference. Skill order is between which ability do you take at level 2. That can either be the E or the W. The benefit of E is that it's more self-peel, but the downside is that longer cooldown, way longer cooldown. W, shorter cooldown, but it is a little bit less self-peel and a bit more offense in that aspect. So in this case, when I'm playing versus Olaf that wants to run me down on the long lane, I'm taking E to make sure that he cannot do that. If I'm playing versus an Ahri, I'm going to take W because of the shorter cooldown. I get more trading opportunities and more pressure to bully her.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Nice and simple. So now I like to do this section here, Tim, where I see, does the general Syndra community, this is Emerald Plus we're looking at here, agree with the way you view Syndra, Tim?
Okay.
So, looking at first item, 70% of people are building Ludens first over Blackfight. Now, you said you do build Luden sometimes. Is this what 70% of your games were you going Ludens?
Okay, so let's get very specific to the Syndra evolution over the past few months, because there's been some evolution. Since the new changes where they buffed the Storm Surge and they buffed the Ludens, this is a very viable item. This is actually very decent. I still think that Blackfire is really, really good, but at least it's playable now. Before that, it was just very bad. So all of these past few months, it was all Blackfire, Cosmic, Blackfire, Cosmic. Right now, I think you got to be very smart at looking what do we actually need and what is my role in this game, because it is a really good build. I don't think you should autopilot it. I think that if you have a build where you just don't want to think, just go Blackfire and Cosmic, you're going to be fine because of how useful you're going to be becoming in the mid game. If you're going to be rocking Ludens, which is a more fun build on Syndra, because you're going to be one-shotting people real fast with this build. Luden Storm Surge, you're nuking people. You're going to be a bit more of an assassin. Stationary LeBlanc is what I like to call her. But absolutely viable, but I wouldn't run it 70% of the time. Probably 30% is what I would do. Yep.
And Sork Shoes, 73% of the time, people not really valuing Swifties. They don't really like movement speed as much as you, Tim, seems like.
Yeah. It's I don't think you understand how to use it. So we're going to make sure to show it today in the examples.
Okay. You like Cosmic second. The community picks Cosmic second 14% of the time. They're loving Shadow Flame and Storm Surge. Is that, again, the same thing as Ludens? It looks like a fun item. You know, you got like the whole execute thing.
It's very sexy. And the thing is that both of these items, they have a bit of a small anti-synergy with Syndra. Especially if you look at, for example, Shadow Flame. Shadow Flame deals increase damage below 35% HP, 40, what is it exactly? One of them. But I do know that Syndra does execute players below 50% HP with her R. So if you have your Shadow Flame, you go towards the Shadow Flame, what you see is that below 40% HP, if you already execute someone at 50% HP, you lose value on a bit of the Shadow Flame passive. So it's not a bad item at all. It's actually really good because you're also going to be killing people without your ult sometimes. But purely because of that interaction, I'm a little bit less fond of Shadow Flame and a lot more happy with Storm Surge, purely because of the fact that the move speed stat is so unbelievably good on Syndra, and Storm Surge gives heaps of it.
Okay, I see. So your Cosmic Drive, like, again, you're saying the copy and paste, this was what you're building all the time. So even though you've said all that, you still prefer Cosmic Drive. Is that, again, because of the movement speed?
Yeah, so it's the movement speed and it's the haste. Because both of these other 10 items give 0 haste.
I see. Haste and move speed. Yes, okay.
Exactly.
So we're understanding the champ identity here a little bit more. Okay.
Exactly. And I want you to look at the E cooldown of Syndra. And now everything's going to click together if you recognize that. Syndra's E cooldown is 17 seconds, Nathan. That means insane. That this is your number one offensive ability and your number one defensive ability. This ability is literally what your entire kit revolves around. So if you can have this extra, if you go Luden Storm Surge, you get 10 haste, right? But if you go Blackfire Cosmic, you get 45 haste. If you can get this extra 35 haste, it's just your mid game, it just explodes in how much more opportunities that you get and how less vulnerable that you are because of that equal on being more up.
Okay, that makes sense. It looks like a lot of the time people are going Death Cap a lot. Agree with you here. This makes sense. A third item. Again, your example you only showed was Zhonya's because you had a specific comp. People like to build Zhonya's. We're seeing some Void Staff. People are a big fan of Void Staffs. When would you be building Void Staff much?
Around this time as well. 4 or 5.
Around like 4 or 5 items. Yeah. But noting, you said that you like defensive items. The community consensus is they like Zhonya's way more than Banshees. There's barely any Banshees getting built here. Why do you think that is from the Syndra community?
Well, I think it's less Syndra specific, but more just item specific. Zhonya's is number one, easier to use and a lot more broad in the usage aspects. Zhonya's is also really good versus certain AP champs like Fizz. Very burst-oriented champs. If you can Zhonya's the Fizz ult, it's not going to kill you. Banshees doesn't work like that. It's not an active, it's a passive.
Okay. Any other honorable mentions here, Tim, for items? Anything else you want to...
Well, Crypt Bloom at the moment is really good for because of the extra haste once again. Like, I want you guys to think haste is an insane stat on Syndra. Really insane stat. Haste and move speed are my favorite stats on this champ. Of course, you got to be strong enough with your damage numbers to back it up. And you got a farm build to do that. But once you can get these numbers rocking, you start feeling like an absolute beast.
Awesome. Okay, Tim, let's jump into the practice tool now. Now we're going to be going over Syndra's abilities, combos, tips. What do we need to know at a high level how her kit sort of all works together? We're going to assume that our listeners have a baseline knowledge of what all the abilities do. But how does that kit come together? How do we do damage? How do we play this champion?
Okay, so let's start very high level, right? Let's just see where does our damage come from. Our main damage sources, especially in the early game, are going to be our Qs, because this is where we put all the points in. It's the ability that's really easy to land. It's very straightforward skill shot, and we have 2 charges of it. So this is where a big part of our damage comes from. So a big part of what we're trying to do is we're also, in the early game, trying to set up for our Qs landing. This can either be through a W, because our W is slow. So one of my favorite combinations to use in lane is a W into Q. It's very easy, very straightforward trading pattern. Besides that, your E is then not used, which is one that we don't also have for defensive purposes. So if we really look at early game ability usage on Syndra, we're going to be mainly using our abilities in a rotation of 2. So we're going to be using WQ or QE. And then we keep one more, either the W or the E, centered for a defense ability. So if we're like a sniper, we then have a handgun still in the back for close combat. We got to make sure that we are always safe. We're still an immobile mage.
I like the W is slow. So W is slow. So your mindset is my W is going to help me hit my Q and help me hit my E. If I don't hit W's, then I probably shouldn't be going for Q's and E's.
Definitely not for E's. Q's you can always go for. Q is like your basic trading ability. It's a pretty short cooldown. And what happens is that you can just throw it out while the enemy's last hitting. Very simple ability usage. And you don't really lose that much with it as well. This is your main trading tools is going to be your Q for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So what else do we need to know here? How does this all look together?
Okay. Before we go into that, right, I want to understand that there's now a mindset shift. So once we get towards our W upgrade and multiple points in our W actually becomes a lot stronger. Purely because of the upgrade with the splinters, you get additional true damage. So a lot of true damage in the game. So now, in our skirmishes, what we'll find is that we have multiple points of W. We're going to take a look at the damage. It's really, really high. So both our Ws and our Qs are then going to be very important to be landing. And our W is then a little bit less of a setup tool, but more of a damage and a nuke tool. So what we'll find is then we're going to start implementing in the mid game, we're going to start implementing multiple abilities. And we're going to usually look for QE, stun the enemy so they're guaranteed to land, and then WQ for a full combo. QE, WQ, which is our full bread and butter combo that will deal a shit ton of damage.
I actually just noticed, you see the little two blue icons underneath your HP bar? Only you can see that, right? Normal people can't see that on the other end.
Yes, that's right.
Correct?
Only we can see that.
I've like never seen this before, by the way. So just to see some perspective. So in terms of like, do you need to keep track of your orb charges? Like, where's your attention focus? Or do you have so much muscle memory that you just know, you have intuition? Like, should people be looking underneath their character, or should they be looking at the bar, the HUD?
No, for me it's intuition, because I've played over thousands of Syndra games, right? So for me it's very simple. I know exactly when this champ has their abilities up, and it's pure muscle memory for me, because I throw it in rotations in a way as well, that I always got myself a defensive tool. And especially once you get more haste into the mid to late game, you don't even need to think twice about it, because it's just almost always up.
Okay, so it should become quite naturally to you. The way her kit plays out, the combos, all that sort of stuff, you should have enough orbs to be able to do stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to learning Syndra, right, if you're early in your Syndra learning curve, this and her micro can be very overwhelming. Like, all of these skill shots are really hard to land. You got to keep track of these balls. Your E ability is one of the hardest abilities to use in the game correctly. So the first 100, even sometimes 200 games of Syndra can just be really overwhelming. And that's okay. Once you get over that hurdle, that's when the champ can start playing itself a little bit more.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
our ability, Nathan.
And our ability, yeah. So yeah, can we talk about like the stacks on the passive as well? By the way,
Okay.
So how does the stacking work? So what's the passive even do?
So the passive, what we see is that at a certain breakpoints you get extra stats, or you get extra bonuses. So the first stat is at 40 breakpoints. What you get at 40 breakpoints, you get that extra Q stack, because normally you only have one Q, but it then stacks up to 2 at 40 stacks. If you get 60 stacks, you get the W bonus, which is the additional true damage. If you get 80 stacks, which is very underrated, by the way, a lot of people watch over this, is that if this ability lands, it also slows the enemy by 70% for 1.5 seconds.
That's insane.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, then you can hit your Q and your E. Why would people not value that?
People just don't. It's not visual. You don't see it. It's hidden in a way. So now it's 79 stacks. What's going to happen is that if I QE someone, they're just going to get stunned. They can run away. But if I now,
so when you say it's not visual, it's like a sexy thing where their health bars going down. They're not doing damage. Okay, like they can see the slow, but they're not seeing how that slow leads to anything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's right. So what we know about this champ as well is that how do we get a passive stack? Well, we get it either by killing a cannon, by we can either get a splinter by damaging an enemy with 2 abilities within 4 seconds. And we get 5 splinters if we spend an ability point. That's why that triple tonic is such a good rune, because you get 5 free ability points.
That makes a lot of sense. So does your R upgrade at 100 stacks? Is that an R upgrade? Yeah, 100 splinters.
100. Exactly.
This ability executes by 15%. Okay, and then there's a general 120 splinters, which everyone says, guys, wait for me to get 120 stacks or whatever it is, right? Because you get the 15% bonus ability power. And I assume that this is really, 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 really good because you have death cap as well. It's just like you have so much AP, right? By the time this procs, by the time you have your third item.
That's right. That's right.
Makes sense.
So you see that the 100 stacks is a very sexy one because executing people feels like the best thing in the world. 120 stacks is really sexy because you see your AP number skyrocket with about 50 about that stage in the game. So these are very, very sexy numbers in general. So let's see how the leveling up goes, because right now I got 79 stacks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 2 abilities onto a W right here and get an extra stack. And look at what happens to my E, right? I get my E back in this case because of the cooldowns, but my E upgrades right here. And what happens right now is I slow this enemy as well, which means that if you're chasing someone, or you want to get close to them to land that W into Q, you will now be able to do so. And it's just massive bonus.
Wait, when you say your E reset on cooldown, is that only specifically when you hit 80 stacks?
Yeah, it's a bug, actually.
Oh, it's a bug. I was gonna, because you have the reset cooldown. It confuses me, the reset cooldown thing, right? Okay, I see.
Yeah,
like, that's a bug. That's not intended by Riot. So, but I mean, that's so impractical to use. How often does that? Do you use that?
I had it in my journey to challenge. I had it 2 times happening in 110.
There you go. Okay,
110 games. But it actually carried a team fight, by the way.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, people are like, how does this guy have 2 E's? What the hell?
Yeah, it was crazy. But that's just a bug. We don't look at that. So that's just very basic ability theory, because Syndra can do so much with her abilities. And there's so much that I can't even explain. Even if we just talk about Syndra's abilities over an hour right now, I can't discuss everything. But there's a few points that I really want to highlight when it comes to key micro and ability combinations that you need to be aware of. First of all, we talked about the WQ already. Very easy trading pattern. Now let's see how we can sequence Q and E, because Q and E are also very good trading patterns and just abilities to use together. Q and E, you can either use it very normally like this, which is good, but it's a bit linear. It's very easy to predict that, and a lot of people, especially in higher elo, will predict you trading with QE, so they're going to be trying to avoid that. If you miss your E, you got a problem. So what you can do versus champs that are lower range or get close into you, you can actually make it, you can swap it around. You can actually do an E into Q. And yes, you won't stun them, but what's going to happen is that if you E into Q, the mental stack's not primed for it. They will be able to get surprised by it. And not only that, your E into Q combination is guaranteed for your Q, because you push them back in your E and you get yourself a free passive stack. It's a very brain dead, really, really simple to execute and consistent trading pattern in the lane.
I say that could probably be a mistake that Syndra players think they always have to get the stun, but you could use it to get stacks and just guarantee extra little damage on a nice little trade. Exactly. Because you're anticipating where they're going to go to use your Q, where they're going to land, because you push them back.
That's right.
Interesting.
That's right. And especially if you play versus a champ like Yasuo. If you don't know this combo versus the Yasuo matchup, he is going to eat you alive, because for him to dodge your QE, it's so easy. If he sees the Q, he will instantly win wall and block your E. But if you start with the E and then do the Q, he has less time to react, and you're actually playing a bit of a mind game with him, because it's a bit of anticipation from that point, because it's so fast that it's hard to react
to. Okay, what else do we need to know here, Tim? You said that you could talk for an hour on Syndra.
I could talk for an hour.
What's the practicality stuff then? Like, how could you possibly? How could it be possibly an hour? There's no champ in the game that should be talking about their kit for an hour.
Absolutely,
right?
we can, Nathan.
Is that because there's just so much detail in terms
of
so much
you
have such low cooldowns? So what's the ability that you'll talk for? Okay. Explain to me ability directions then. These two. So W and E. Okay.
W and E. That's right. So let's start with W. There's a lot of things that people don't know about this W ability. And especially if you look at lower ranked Syndra players, they have no clue how to use this ability. Like, they have no clue how to use this ability.
Yeah, that's where we should go. Let's go to the common mistakes that people misplay the kit.
Yes. So let's start with, how do we actually use the W ability? Because when I look at Syndra reviews, no one does this correctly. The W ability is a really hard ability to land. Why is it such a hard ability to land? Because if you press outside of your range of your W range, what's going to happen is you're going to walk forward first before you throw it. While if you press the Q ability outside of your range, you see my mouse right here, you throw it at max range. So the Q is automatically clamped, while the W is one that you walk forward first and then throw it. So your mouse accuracy has to be very precise. And I don't recommend turning on clamp cast thing because it's a bit of a cheat code. So that means that you need to get very good at getting your mouse at this point right here to get it at the max range. And this is what a lot of people struggle with. Because if you slightly misplace it, what's going to happen is you're going to walk forward. And with you walking forward, you might sometimes run too close to the enemies and not use the max range of it. You might even get yourself killed because of if you click very far forward, you walk all the way. It's super linear. It's really easy for the enemies to dodge because they can anticipate you moving forward. They know that with that ball behind your back, if you're walking forward like this, they're going to be anticipating you throwing it out.
Yeah, so people just miss the W a lot. That's a big part of what they do because their movement's too predictable.
That's right. Now, Nathan, how nice would it be if there's a solution for that? There is.
This is where movement and move speed comes into play. Is that right?
Move speed and move speed it's very nice, but it's even simpler. Okay. So let's read the tooltip together. And this is where it gets exciting. If no target is selected, because what a lot of people do is you pick up your W like this. You go with your mouse right here, and then you have to do this mouse movement right there to throw it out, right? But it gets better, because if no target is selected, it grabs the nearest dark sphere. So the simplest solution to fixing all your W problems is by literally just standing right here and double-clicking upon the enemy.
No one does it because there's less clicks and no, you can't miss that guy.
Exactly. So let's look at it again, right? So easy.
You're clicking. You're still clicking where it goes, right? So you're just.
I'm just double tapping W. No mouse movements.
Just double tapping W. Okay, no mouse movements because it automatically picks up the thing that's closest to you. No, you don't have no mouse where you have to pick up because what people's cursor is they have to like go pick it up and then they have to go throw it.
That's right. Okay. And that gets pretty tough. That's
important. So why don't people do that then?
Because they don't read the tooltip and they don't understand that it's possible.
So people don't know that it automatically picks up your
No,
orbs.
Just don't know.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
We remember when we did the Top Lane Academy guides last year, Nathan. You and Charlie never read those tooltips as well.
Yeah, the tooltips. I don't like reading abilities. I just want to play the game. Tim. Okay, well, what else do people not read then? What else do people not know about? What are common mistakes again?
Common mistakes. Okay, so we're now going to go a little bit more towards this E ability, right? Because this E ability is a really hard ability to use because it's not only your offensive ability, but also your defensive ability. And that makes the skill cap on this ability basically uncapped in a way. There's no skill cap because you always find yourself positions in skirmishes where you think like, I should have maybe held my E or could have used my E better. But one of the key things that I see in my coaching sessions is that people don't know the most simple brain dead combo that basically guarantees stun. So you know that this is like a skill shot, right? And you can miss it. In this case, the dummy didn't get stunned. So what do you think, Nathan? How can we use this R to get guaranteed stuns? A lot of people do this. This is the combo that a lot use. How do you think we can utilize this R?
So the principle is so he throws out all the orbs and then your E knocks a lot of, all the orbs, exactly. Right? So you want as many orbs. The principle is you want as many orbs on the ground as possible. Exactly. And R helps you do that. So then when you throw your E, so your mindset is if you're intending to E, you should probably, if you're turning to R, you should probably hold your E. Is that the idea?
That's one of the ways to go about it. It just really depends on the mindset of the E, of the mindset of the R, more specifically, and the E. Are we needing to execute to kill people? Yes or no? Do we need that 15%? Because a lot of times I don't play for the 15%. I just play to get all of these balls on the ground, get this guaranteed stun, break the team fight. But also with early game gank setups, you don't need to finish people off with your R. You can just ult them early, get all of these balls on the ground, and get the most free stun in your life because it's undodgeable. It's literally undodgeable unless you have flash.
Undodgeable with R. Okay, I see.
Yeah, that's right. So this E ability, very challenging.
Yeah. Okay, I sort of just need to see this in gameplay in action here, Tim. We can be in practice tour as much as you want. You said in an hour you could
We can do this
as
long as we want.
Okay, let's look at practically how you're using your kit and stuff. Let's just jump into the game now, Tim, all right?
Yes, let's do it.
If you're enjoying this video, how to play and win games with Syndra, we have our free school community that you can join. We have over 5,000 members there, a bunch of resources. We have a climbing masterclass, a champion pool course, as well as tier lists. Or if you really want to speed up your improvement, we have our We Teach League academies. Both of those links will be in the description below. Okay, so Tim, before we dive into the game, sort of talking high level about Syndra, where does Syndra sort of fit in the meta right now? Where would you put it? Because I was sort of trying to find some VODs. Maybe lower ranks, maybe don't play, but I don't really see Syndra around that often.
So Syndra is actually one of the most evergreen champs that you can play. Like, she can be situated in almost any draft, in almost any meta, and especially the past 5 months, like 6 months, she was just S+++ tier. One of, if not the best champ in the game. So she did get some small changes, some small nerfs, but overall she's still just an S tier champ. And it really is just how good you are on this champ is how good your results will be.
Okay. So sort of got like, again, you said a lot of the abilities have high skill cap, and you could talk about the ability usage, or it's a high skill cap champ that's evergreen. Like, if it sort of scales with how good you are at the game, basically.
Absolutely.
You can't go wrong with Syndra. Okay.
No, that's right.
Okay. And yeah, we've already talked a lot about, champ identity in terms of items, ability haste, all that. So, we will sort of break it down to sort of, the early lane reference points, the big game reference points. But at a high level, how do you win games with Syndra? What does a great Syndra game look like? Do you looking for certain team comps? Like, what does a great game look like for you?
So a great Syndra game is all about your E usage. That's basically your champ. If you have a linear comp on the enemy team, then it's very easy to land your stuns. It's very easy to be safe, get up all the farm. And once you get towards that 1 to 2 item spike, you want to look for skirmishes. This champ is really good as a control mage where you let the enemies run into you. You then look for skirmishes in which that you can get 1 or 2 key picks or really high value abilities in these fights. That's how you basically win the game on this champ.
Okay, wow. So you're really emphasizing e-usage. So we're really going to have to get the details on e-usage, it seems like.
If the only reason why I was able to climb to Challenger so easily on this champion was because of how good my e-usage is on this champ. And if I compare that to the average Emerald player or like the average player that I'm reviewing in the games, night and day difference. Incomparable.
Okay.
That's the big thing.
So people are really going to struggle if they just miss a lot of E's. Basically, you're saying don't expect to win games with Syndra if you're not doing really good E's, if you're missing too many E's.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. So let's go back here now, Tim, and let's talk about this game here. So what do you think about it from level 1? What do you think about this game? Are you even thinking about anything? Or are you just thinking about, I'm just going to go in lane and just start farming and scaling up with first strike?
Yeah, so very simply, my mindset, very high levels. I want to get to my Q upgrade and my lost chapter as clean, as fast, and as smooth as possible.
Which is 40 splinters.
40 splinters. That's right. And in this case, I'm playing with Olaf. It's a bit of an uncommon matchup in mid, but this guy is like a Grandmaster Olaf OTP, playing it on all lanes, and he just picked it in the mid. So I always ask myself the question in these type of matchups, right? If there's any matchup, how do I want to use my E? Very simple in this one. This Olaf will run me down if he gets the opportunity with Ghost and Flash if he lands the Q. So my E is mainly my defensive tool here in this matchup. So if I want to get towards my Q and upgrade and my lost chapter as soon and as smooth as possible, I'm just going to be farming, slow pushing into him, keeping my E unless my wave state is in such a position that I can easily use it. And I'm just going to slow the lane down, take 100 to 0 oriented trades, in the sense that I'm going to hit him. And a lot of my mental stack is actually onto him not being able to hit me. So you're going to see a lot of my movement and a lot of my positioning in this lane is very specific to prevent him ever being able to land a single Q on top of me. Because if he lands one Q, he can run me down, and that's what I want to prevent.
Okay, so you're really thinking about your matchup. That's the only thing you should tell people. It's like, you don't care about your cannon top, your bot lane, whatever. We'll figure out that later. You should just think about how am I going to use my abilities on my E specifically in this matchup. That's the most important thing.
That's right. Absolutely spot on. I just want to get towards my Q upgrade, lost chapter. And there's many ways to get there.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, let's take a look at the lane now. So is there a specific spot that you like to stand, by the way, Tim? I always ask people this. It's always interesting to get people's opinions. Do you just sit under mid, just sort of bit AFK? Do you go to an entrance? Where do you like to stand? How do you use your ward early? Level 1?
Yeah, really good question. So if you lose priority, right? If you cannot gain priority in the matchup, you're going to beeline straight to the top lane bush, top side bush of mid lane.
Do you mean this one here?
Yeah, this one right here. And then you're going to level 1 ward on the enemy raptors at 115, 120, if you can't get prio.
Okay.
If you can get prio, in this case, I've got options. What I like to do is I very specifically like to place my ward between the second and the third wave after I cleared wave 2. And then I have 2 options. I can either ward enemy raptors for information on Pantheon, or I can ward towards the side of where my jungle is cleaning, so I can lean very heavily and also be making sure that I've got priority for potential scuttle fights that happen on that side of the map. In this case, versus Olaf, I will be able to grab up early prio. So I am just kind of, it doesn't really matter if I defend anything right now. I'm just sitting in the lane. I want to make sure that I'm there when the wave meets. And very specifically, I'm going to ward between wave 2 and 3. How specific you want to get, Nathan? You want to get specific, or just keep it a bit high level here?
Yeah. Let's just look at the gameplay. You know, you answered the question at a high level, and now let's just look at the way you exactly use your ward.
Okay, that's good. So one of the key things in this lane is I'm making sure that I'm never in range of his Q. And one of the key things I'm doing is I'm baiting out his Q ability. So I'm standing near low health minions, kind of baiting him to throw out his Q ability, but then I'm going to be dodging it because I predict that it's coming, and then I'll make sure that he doesn't get this high value ability. And I want to not really play up on his health as a resource, because the reality is he's got D-Shield, he's Olaf, he can sustain my poke with First Strike. I'm just going to be playing more up on his mana resource right here.
Okay. All right, so I have a couple of questions here for you, Tim. By the way, you can tell me to go back anytime you want if you want me to recover things.
Yeah.
So you're saying here, so a lot of people will be like, okay, I'm arranged into a melee matchup.
Yeah.
Why are you not auto-attacking the Olaf here?
If he lands a Q on me, I'm fucked. I'm losing the lane instantly.
Okay. So an auto-attacking basically makes you stand still. You can run around and throw Q. Yeah. You don't have to stand still. So that allows him to hit the Q. Is that the idea?
Yeah. That's correct.
So you're not allowed to auto attack it, because the moment you auto attack, he Qs you, and then he can just run you down and kill you. Okay.
Yep, that's correct. So I would do that if I would be running Aerie setup versus like a Kiana or something like that. I would play a lot more aggressive, but in this case, it's just not necessary right here. It's just not necessary. And you see that in this position, I'm not blindly walking up to try to hit him, because he lands 1 Q on me, he's gonna be murdering me.
Yeah, you haven't auto attacked once here, Tim, and you could have got auto attacks.
Yep. I can't risk it.
Love it. Awesome. So I guess that's the really cool thing about Syndra trading. Like, you can move and dodge abilities and do damage. Like, it's quite OP. Like, that's really OP. A lot of champs can't do that, right?
Matter of fact, there's an even better thing. Your W can even counter trading windows. So one of the key things, you can pick up a low health minion that you need the CS, and you can actually use it as an offensive tool as well. So for example, right here.
Crazy. Yeah, use it as damage and you last hit. That's so broken. This is the best champ of the game.
Best champ of the game. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. So I intentionally don't use my E here, by the way. If I use my E with this wave state right here, I will get murdered for the next 17 seconds and not be able to touch a single minion.
So that was different. I see. I understand. So that E that you did, so you've only done 1 E up until this point. This E, this E was because the wave was complete. So you could just throw it in here. It's all good. You don't need the E, because your E cooldown will be back up by the time you're last in on the next wave. Is that right?
Exactly. That's spot on.
Okay. And then now again, you're just not allowed to eat, because, as you said, you're I like the analogy you used, Tim, where you're a sniper and you need to have your like handgun, or I guess like bayonet, like a little knife ready to go all the time, because other than that, like, snipers will just get run down. You can't do close range combat. Yeah,
exactly. Yep. So
I feel like that Syndra. So do you see a lot, like even Emerald, Platinum Syndras, whatever, they just throw out the E and just get killed on cooldown. Wow.
On cooldown. They don't understand that you can trade with W into Q, and they just constantly throw at the QE. That's the trading combo they have learned. That's ingrained. But it's not how you trade on Syndra. Yeah, it's fascinating, right?
Yeah, no, this is interesting. This is good. I like. We probably should have gone to practice a little earlier, Tim, because I needed to see all that in action, all that
Yeah.
theory. I think the theory was great, but we need to see this in action. This is making a lot more sense now.
Yep. So this E, right? Look what the minions. I'm not going to be in a position where I'm super vulnerable for these minions right now to
last hit
last
them.
hit them. Exactly.
Because they're not low HP. Okay, so
Exactly.
when the fresh wave comes, or it's
Or
about to
when
come, whatever, then it's fine. You can be more free flow with your E.
exactly. Or another way to go is if the wave's on your side, because this wave state is not super ideal for me right now when it comes to my positioning in the lane. And if the wave's on my side, I'm free to use my E whatever I want. I want to go quickly back. I want to discuss a few key movement concepts here. So after I clear this wave, a little bit further back.
Further back?
Yeah, further back. So after I clear that wave with my QE here.
Yep.
Spot perfect. Well, look at how I'm positioning right now. I am not standing so close to Olaf that he can hit me, but I'm just barely tethering his range. So I bait out his Q. And now that he's used his Q, because I baited it out, I now have room to step up more closely in the lane. And I can now CS these next minions for free because he doesn't have his threatening ability for me. So this is very much my mindset. Look at what happens again. He uses his Q. In this case, he grabs it up back again. But the fact that he uses his resources to do that, puts me in this position where I'm just very, very safe.
Yep, and same thing with that E. Minions don't need to last hit anything. You could just use your E, wait for your E cooldown to come back up.
That's right.
But you're still very, like, you're going in and out, like, trying to be very, very cautious still.
Yep, that's right. So I try to go for the WQ here. He was a little bit far away.
God, like right there, by the way, Tim, everyone would E that. Every single player would E right here, by the way. Every player would E. So why do you not E? So yeah, so break it down. Why do you not E here?
I could E, but if I use my E, I won't be able to hold the wave closer towards my turret. So I'm just not using my E.
I see. So your mindset here is now you can hold a wave and sort of like freeze a little bit here.
EQ combination. You saw it right there? You saw the EQ combination? He walks up too close.
Oh, yeah, that's the EQ. And then you anticipate it. I see. Yeah.
Exactly.
Very clear. And then you got splinters.
You got splinters. And look what I do.
Two abilities in 4 seconds.
And look what happens right now. I kept my E. And look at this disgusting wave management from Olaf's perspective, right? It's now so close to my turret that it's so hard for him to grab.
He can't even fire you. He can't even Q you and go on you.
Exactly. And because the wave's in a good spot right now, I can just QE him.
You can
for free.
throw E's now. Okay, I see.
That's
this
right.
is beautiful League of Legends here, Tim. This is brilliant. This is very clean.
It's
Makes
brilliant,
sense.
right?
So much sense. Yeah, it's really good. This guy would just be getting angry. He's just getting skill checked.
Yeah, it's just what it is.
Well, to be honest, you almost did outplay you there, Tim, but I guess you could have just traded flashes there anyway if Jana wasn't there.
Yeah.
MVP Jana helping you shove the wave with no mana. Usually I'm the jungler helping my laners. My laners that are out of mana here.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Just really fundamental lane on Syndra.
And we get our, this is the build. We get Dark Seal and we get the, your Lost Chapter. Okay. Actually, we never even talked in the build section quickly about summoner spells. So you flash TP every single game, I assume?
Every game.
So I'm just spitballing here. I assume some Syndras might get creative, like, well, I want to like one-shot someone. I'll go Ignite, flash Ignite. Or they might be hearing you, Tim, saying movement speed, go flash Ghost.
Yeah.
Is there any viability in these things?
Good luck in the mid-game.
Good luck in the mid-game. So that's it.
Good luck in the mid-game.
And why is that? Is that because you can't use side lane and like you're so immobile? Like
immobile.
You're just gonna, you're just immobile. So you need TP.
You need TP. That's right. Spot on. So what I'm doing right here is I'm very cautious with my wave management. Look how all of my abilities are placed towards the side of the wave so that I'm not hitting the wave and the wave is actually slightly pushing closer towards me.
Okay, so you might see a lot of Syndras just start queuing the Olaf and queuing the wave and ruining their waves.
Let's go back, Nathan. Let's talk some fundamentals here. All right. Even further back. Let's go back here. All right. I want you to look what's going to happen upon the map right here. what do we see happening right now?
Bot space in, Jarvan's hitting camps. We should be in a defensive mindset here.
Defensive. Tempo syncing right here. Sync up tempo with the team. So what I'm doing, I'm playing the exact same mindset. I'm not QEing the wave. I'm not trading with Olaf. I'm vulnerable right now. This is the time where if something bad happens, my team can't gain anything in return. So I'm just nicely letting the wave get close towards my side. And guess what? I got myself ganked by the Karma. Look at the combo, right? You saw the combo right there. R into E. Undodgeable. All these balls.
Yeah. So a lot of people would be, I could see, again, I'm just trying to always think about the average player reviewing here. Their mindset is, I only R when they're low HP. But your mindset here is, I'm R'ing just to get the stun, and they're going to be guaranteed dead anyway. Is that the right idea? So right. Be comfortable R'ing people at full HP, seems to be in a lot of situations, because the guarantees hit the E.
Just ult them. Deal so much damage. That's right. Spot on. Once again, very intentional wave management here. It's really hard.
Just last hit in.
Yep.
Not using abilities on wave.
That's right. It looks simple in a way, right? It looks pretty simple what I'm doing right here, just with the wave management. And what I'm now going to try to do is sync up tempo with my team once again. I'm just looking at the minimap. That's exactly where my attention is. I'm not looking at the Olaf. I'm syncing up tempo with my team. I nuke the wave because I see that my Jarvan is hovering bot, so I potentially want to do something. Now he's going back towards midlane right now. Keeping my eye on
this is the same thing quickly, Tim. The same thing here, just sort of just point out, get little details here. I just want to keep emphasizing this point. He used Q, you have no E, so you can go walk up and be more aggressive here on him. But if he had Q, you would never be walking up like this.
Never, ever.
Yeah, with no E specifically.
Yep. That's spot on.
Okay, so I sort of interrupted there. So again, you're thinking about your team, you're playing with tempo on your team.
That's right. I'm just fully syncing myself up with them.
I mean, this is not a Syndra thing. This is just a mid lane fundamental in general, right? Like, you think this is really important in terms of like, people always say, how do I have more impact or close out the game, right? This is a big part of it. It's like people miss these opportunities. Or, as you said, they die when their teammates are off map, off tempo, and then, they're wondering why they're struggling.
Yep, that's right. So we got a Q upgrade right here. We're in a fantastic position right now. We are really strong.
40 splinters, Q upgrades. What does the Q upgrade do again?
It gives you an extra stack. So if we go a little bit back, right, even further back, what happens is that you get in this position where you got only one Q, and now your Q starts stacking up to 2 Qs. Pause. Very important moment in the game, because now we're moving on to the next phase of Syndra right now. And this is what I call lane control phase. Everything that I've done before, syncing up tempo, now is even more important, because our wave clear is just stupid from this point. And I've got a very nice wave clearing pattern that I use to either just get out of lane or get control instantly. And that's what we're going to be seeing right here on the screen right now.
Okay, so once you get 2 orbs, like, you can start wave clearing insanely well, because you've okay.
Exactly. Q the melees, W Q the casters, next Q rotation, melee's gone. Level 7, easy. 6 out of 6 minions. Why do I hard push the wave? Look at my Yana. Look at my Jarvan. Perfectly syncing up tempo with them. Getting some deeper vision together with my Yana. And easily securing the grubs.
So I feel like a lot of people's mindset, Tim, would be, I'm always thinking about solo killing my opponent. But like, for the last 3-4 minutes, you haven't really thought about it. You haven't thought about killing Olaf, doesn't seem. You're sort of just playing the map more so. Because I feel like, is that a mistake where people just are always trying to solo kill their opponent, like just stepping forward and just going crazy with R?
Completely, right? So this is the first time that you see me do this right here, because I felt comfortable doing so. Now I completely butcher my flash. But besides that, I knew I could beat him here purely because of like all of the previous situations that we had. It's not super bad if I die here, because my team is in this case there's no objectives up. It's not like we lose anything big. And besides that, I'm just consistently trying to get stuff done together with my team because of my big strength in wave clear and my big CC setup in my E, which makes it so easy for me to also play with my team. That's right.
Yeah, so that's why you don't need to just always constantly try and solo kill your laner permanently.
Yeah, that's right. So this is exactly what we're going to be continuing to do right now. We're going to keep syncing up tempo. And in this case, what I'm doing right now is I see that there's stuff happening up on bot, sync up tempo with my Jarvan, push the wave, and I try to move into bot right here.
Okay, so you have Blackfire Torch now?
Yep, that's right.
So you're going to lose a mid wave for this. This is
no,
worth?
we don't. We don't lose mid wave. Jin's going to catch it. That's why this roam is great.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So that's the thing is I'm just going to take the bot lane wave. We're going to swap up the lane assignments, and Jin is going to take the mid lane wave right here. That's why this roam works.
So this works specifically now, but do you want to go back mid? Like there's no tower broken here yet. Are you fine to lane body or?
Eventually, right? The most important thing is, especially if we get towards these higher ranked games, is you just want to be efficient at the bottom map. Want to get as much farm as possible. If I'm going to be laning up against Senna for a minute, I don't care. I'm a Syndra with a lot of wave clear. I can minimize every lane. Completely fine.
Yeah, so you're fine to just be chilling in the side lane because, again, as you said, at this stage of the game, your wave clear is so good that you should always be safe. Just, again, you're never trying to kill your opponent. Clear wave, move. Clear wave, push, like push, move, push, move, push, move is your mindset.
That's right. Spot on.
And your advantage is your wave clear is better than most champs in the entire game, most mid laners. That's right. So I mean, a lot of mid laners have pretty good wave clear, but Syndra's like the best?
One of the best, for sure.
I see. So you want to use that as your advantage.
That's right. So you got other big hitters like Wei and Victor post E upgrade, but overall Syndra has this massive advantage.
This guy's a beast this early.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What the hell? People think this is a troll pick, dude. And he knows you have no flash, right? So no flash against this seems pretty hard.
Exactly. So this is a very interesting one, right? Because now the game gets a bit interesting here from this point.
This is interesting. I was going to say to him, this looks like a 15-minute window. This is what VOD have you brought me?
Oh, Olaf without a full item happened just now and just 1v3 here. So yeah, this was a little bit of a misunderstanding of limits and champions. And what happens is that in this case, now the game gets a little bit more explosive, a little bit more chaotic. And this is really where the big difference makers are going to be when it comes to the big 20%ers of Syndra. When the game gets a bit more chaotic and the skirmishes start to happen, that's when we get into the juice, because E usage then is going to make or break your game.
Because you're so immobile. I feel like you don't really like chaos and lots of fighting in the skirmish, and it seems really awkward. You just want to, again, it sounds like you want those games a lot of the time where people would be more comfortable doing that push move, but solo queue is not going to be like that. That's like a fantasy, right?
That's right. Exactly. So shit's going to happen right now. And you're going to see in the upcoming skirmishes is how intentional my E usage is and how it wins us certain fights. So you see, once you get your Blackfire, your wave clear pattern changes. You just W-Q the casters and then you Q the melees. You only need those abilities. You don't need anything else.
So let's look at this again so we can just really break it down. So you W to minion. You always W a minion, right? So you W, Q the casters, and then how do you kill the melees?
Next Q.
Just one next Q. Okay.
You out-attack them,
make
them load at the same time.
Okay.
6 out of 6. Every single wave. It's so easy. And what we're going to do right now, Nathan, is we're going to very simply, right, try to play around the next neutrals. We're going to try to slow down the game, recalibrate, play around the neutrals, let the enemies run into us because those are the most favorable states. And in this situation, I'm syncing up tempo with my team. I know I need a little bit more gold for my Ada-Wisp. I'm resetting, syncing up tempo with the Jarvan. Not hitting that bot turret. I need to reset, and then we can play for this dragon fight right here.
Yeah, I know we've talked about it a lot, Tim, but I just do want to just mention, how quickly you clear this wave. At
Crazy,
13
right?
minutes of the game, you clear wave this fast? Like, this is mental. Wow. I've never thought about Syndra that way. Like Syndra's strength, or maybe my Syndra's just too slow, or they're not doing the combo properly, or whatever. I don't know, but I feel like Syndra's no different to a normal mid lane champ with wave clear, but this is obnoxious.
Now let's talk about that move speed again, Nathan, right? So what happens if you have this fast wave clear and you got this move speed to run around the map?
You can be everywhere. You can be
Everywhere.
fast. I
Exactly.
see. You're basically like a champ with dash. You're basically a Kiana.
You're making it easy for yourself. One of your major weaknesses gets massively reduced, for sure.
Okay, you just don't even bother about the low HPR. What's the idea of just insta R there?
Well, very specifically, I knew we're gonna collapse up in, and I have, in this case, if you look at my balls, right, we go a little bit back. The more balls you get, the more damage you're gonna deal. So you see it on the counter on the bottom right of the R. So I got 4 balls right now on the bottom right, and we're gonna make it WQ, QEWQ, classic combo at this point in the game. QEWQ, 5 balls plus first strike proc, max damage I can get at this point in the game.
Yeah.
You can always get 6 and sometimes even 7 balls very late if you have more CDR. But at this point in the game, it's just the max damage I get. And I quickly want to go back to my mindset in this skirmish as well. After I use all my abilities, look at my movement right here. I got no abilities left because I used everything on the Olaf. Look at what I do. I don't just blindly chase him when he gets hit. I walk back and once again anticipate his Q. We can't give him a single opportunity to get on top of us, because if he does, he will murder us. That's great. We just clear the wave right here as well. Once you get very experienced, your wave clear pattern can just be whatever you want. When there's no minions around, it doesn't really matter as well. And while my team is on the dragon, I'm being very efficient and taking bot. Really important fundamental. W gives vision. You can use your W to face check pushes. So what I'll be doing a lot is I'm going to be using my W to face check a bush, and then I'm only going to feel comfortable to continue.
So your W gives you vision.
Yeah.
With you, right. Again, you have to pick up the. Is it pick it up a minion as well as?
Yeah,
just
minion
normally.
That's right.
Okay.
Both work. And you're going to see me use that a little bit more often later in the game here as well. So really important fundamental, once again, right? We are resetting right now. Got bot lane wave pushed in deep. Ask myself the question, what's the next neutral? It's going to be the Herald up on top side. And look what I do. I ping my team to back off because I want them to sync up with me right now. This entire game, one of my highest priorities has been being on the same page as my team. You need to be, as a control match like Syndra, you can't be running around flopping up in the side lane while your team is in base, because you'll die. You need to be playing a team. You're team player-oriented champion. So in this case, I signaled to my team that I want to play with them right here. And we're trying to now regain area control to try to contest this rift.
So you're here for the rift. That's what you're here for. And you're not allowed to go bot because you have no TP. Is that right?
I've got no TP, so I'm just playing right here. And matter of fact, I got bot lane wave so far pushed in that I got so much tempo to make this rotation up anyway. And this is where it gets messy, Nathan. This is where it's important to have good E usage. I've hit every single E so far. I don't think I've missed a single E this game, even. Maybe.
Wow.
I think if we go back, maybe one, but I don't think I've missed a single E this game.
No, I don't think so either. Okay, do we want to break down that fight?
Yeah, let's go back. So this one was a bit of an interesting one because it's a very tricky fight because we're a little bit late to the play because we decided to take enemy bot jungle camps. That means that I'm kind of now frontlining right here. This is not ideally how you want to be playing Syndra fights. You want to be playing a little bit more in the back line. But
so technically, ideally, you and Jarvan didn't go take some camps. You were here first.
Yeah.
Get control. They walk in because you guys are ahead. So yeah, you've lost control of topside, which is quite illegal.
It's completely illegal.
Yeah, it's sort of you and Jarvan's fault, right?
It is. That's right. So we make up for it by good quality E usage. And Olaf has a really nice flank sitting in the bush right there and kind of pumps our Jhin. So you see that this fight's just not ideal. We were just too late to the area. You see that we then become very, very vulnerable. Now, in this case, the solution is good quality ability usage in the skirmishing. What I do is a very nice reactive E, stunning the Gragas, and pumping out some nice damage with my Q and W up on the back end, killing him with the Black Fire Torch, which is pretty Yep, pretty crucial. And then once again, Senna comes in, Q ear, get her away from me, self-peeling tool, which means that I can stay safe. And yeah, just good quality E's are just carrying the fight. Sometimes it's just that simple.
Another, you don't miss, Tim. You do not miss.
I don't miss, Nathan. I do not miss on this ability. That's right. So just purely mechanics here, winning you fights can definitely make up for not optimal macro for sure. That's right. So instantly opening up back to top side. We're actually not opening up back to top side in this case. Why? Because Rift's already guaranteed. If there's going to be another Rift fight, I would be opening up to top and then TPing bot later. But because Pantene is dead, Rift's already guaranteed, I can be a lot more efficient and I can just open up towards bot lane right now.
So explain to me that ult.
Yeah. So what do I lose by not ulting him here? Nothing.
Just a waste. He just sustains up from minions.
Exactly. But I get money because I got first strike right here.
Oh, I see. So you're just getting first strike for money. Okay.
Exactly.
That's your idea. Yeah.
I know that I can't contest bot lane anyway. But the problem is Karma does face shake me. So if I have ult right now, Karma dies. So it's a little bit unfortunate in that case. But my mindset was, okay, I want to pressure Olaf for this wave, make him a bit scared. I got to give bot lane anyway. And since there's no objective up that we're going to be fighting for, I think I can just ult him for money. Problem is, I unfortunately missed the Karma kill with it because I did use it onto Olaf. But it was my mindset. So I want to go a little bit, talk about some mid lane fundamentals here and some mid game stuff. So let's go back all the way until we ult the Olaf. So remember, we're now taking up top side vision control, right? We're top side, our strong side's top side, and I'm on weak side responding to the wave. We don't like to be on weak side at Syndra. So my mindset right here is very simply clear the wave and try to be in a position where I don't die right now.
Yeah, so you're running, you're sprinting back. A lot of people would be walking on the next wave, right? That's what a lot of people would be doing. It's like, oh, I got a safe wave here. But because your team's taking top side here, they're obviously all bots. I mean, just a process of elimination. If the team, if the map's dark and there is 4 people on your team's top side, you have vision, and 4 people missing, you're probably all bot side. So you're just giving this tower.
Yep.
I like this. This is really important. I'd say again, I would even say a Master Tier player dies to that. You know,
everyone.
Autopilot.
I see Grandmaster players just die this shit on cooldown in reviews.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just a very simple map split that you got to understand. And in this case, what happens is that there's a fight happening up on mid. I'm looking if I need GTP. I'm very simply counting the numbers. Cannon is moving. Olaf is still answering bot. That means that I can be efficient and just catch the bot lane wave without being in trouble right here. Very simply counting the numbers. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to, once again, catch waves. So I'll just TP top. I hold the wave a little bit for Cannon so she can eventually come up and try to take it. Because now what happens is that the wave stacks outside of the turret. That was my intention. I tried to hold the wave for the Cannon. So the wave stacks up outside of the turret. It didn't really work out because Cannon ran into Olaf. But overall, it was a cool idea.
Okay, this is the hyper efficiency. You went bot, you push the wave, you instant went top, catch the top wave, push the top wave. Yeah, I can definitely see you're just really fast on your decisions, Tim. You're fast, really fast. Speed, tempo.
Really, very fast.
You know, you're pushing waves quicker. Like I feel like that when we watch the Emerald play out, we're going to see just, it feels it's going to be like we're watching the game in slow motion compared to your Syndra. And that's when Syndra is useless, because if you're playing slow motion, clearing waves, getting to waves, and you're on a mobile mage, you're going to have zero, you're going to be useless. You're going to have 0 map impact.
That's right. So the beauty about this top play as well is the top lane wave is now in a decent position for us for the dragon. Because the enemies, in this case, they might just take top tier 1. That's completely fine. In that case, we can always just defend tier 2. What we're going to do is we're going to use this top lane tempo to take full control of mid and bot right here. Because that's how we win games in Syndra. Look at how we set up the area. If they try to regain or they get too close, QE on their face. Kill them. One shot with 2 items right now. So this area control at this point in the game, if you can get it, is insanely important to consistently closing out your games. We're blocking off this area well in advance. Now get a bit greedy.
This is where you sort of like the stationary LeBlanc mindset. you're an assassin. You actually want them to
Yeah,
walk
you're
into or
burster
control
enchant.
areas. You need to get to places first.
Yeah.
So yeah, so because again, I've said I feel like a lot of Syndras are like going to be like late to the fight or last of the fight. You want to be their first camping, looking for the pick, looking for the assassination with your R.
Yeah, because think about it. It's so much easier to land your E if they're running into you rather than running away. Look at this Gragas, freest E of my life. Very specific E usage right here. Try to hit the Senna as well.
So you're looking to position because you see your 2 balls. So how are you going to hit the center there? So these balls go here. What's the idea?
If we go a bit back, right, when it comes to my my E usage, what I'm very specifically looking at is I am looking at the Senna because I know I'm going to hit the Pantheon anyway right here. I already can QE right now. What I wait is I wait for them to be in a line. I wait for me to be in the line. So if Senna decides to walk forward and auto attack, she gets hit by the ball as well. So that's
okay. So you're trying to like line that.
Yeah.
It's this ball that you're hitting her with. Is that the idea?
Right.
Okay.
Spot on.
So you're thinking about hitting multiple people. You're looking at your balls. You're always trying to think about how can I hit multiple people with my easy fights.
That's right. That's what I'm looking at. So we get this beautiful dragon, and I'm hyper efficient. So I know I'm not necessary because we just killed 3 enemy champs. So I'm going to try to get bot lane wave. Now, what we do know about bot lane wave is that Olaf just showed an X there. So he might just be in the bush. So I use my W to face check. And in this case...
Vision. I see.
That's right.
Getting TP'd on here, Tim. Who's this?
Yeah, this is the Gragas.
It's the Gragas. Beautiful movement there, Tim. Again, I think you're 100 for 100 on E's.
Yeah, Tim. I don't think I've missed a single E, actually. That's pretty cool. So this was one that I wasn't too happy about, this Articon. I think it's a bit flip. I wasn't too happy with the Articon start. I think I missed my first E there as well. Should probably just QRE there onto the Olaf. And we get ourselves a beautiful, beautiful fight here. Even though we did lose the Articon, a little bit unfortunate. I think it was a bit flippy. But good enough because we got the Gragas skill. So what we do right here is we're going to be recalibrating. And we're going to be asking ourselves the question, what's the next neutral objective? Very specifically. First, I'm going to push out bot. Because I want to sync up tempo with my team. Right? My team is still playing. My team is still pushing. So if I reset right now, I'm the only one in base while my entire team is playing. That would make no sense. Because then I'm also going to be up on the map when my team is resetting. So first, we're going to play a little bit more. And then we're going to sync up tempo afterwards. So after this tier 2 turret and the mid tier 2, we all reset. Everyone's synced up. And we got ourselves now a beautiful amount of money that we can spend upon, in this case, the Zonias.
Well, yeah, this is a really important concept here, Tim, because as you say, everyone recalls now. They say, or they push this wave and recall, right? Because they're like, oh, well, I'm out of mana. Typically, when I'm low resources, I should be basing, but because they're dead, your team's pushed up, you have to play with your teams. You have to walk up and just be hitting this next wave in this tower. Otherwise, you're not going to be getting as much value from this play. And your team might just die or get caught, whatever. You need to sort of be here still.
Exactly. But most importantly, the team is not even the most important thing. If you're back up on the map while your team is reset, that's the worst.
You're useless.
You're
There's
useless.
nothing to do.
You can't do anything.
You're just looking at everything. Hey guys, Look at me. I'm useful.
That's right. So look at the pings here, right? Very decisive pings upon the Hextech Dragon. I want to be efficient. I want to take top tier 2 first, set up topside vision control, bump him out, then 1.5 minutes before Drake, try to get bot. Sometimes a bit hard to coordinate in solo queue. I try to make it work here in Grandmaster, but it doesn't always work out. See that the tempo is a bit desynced. Jarvan had a later reset. That shit pissed me off, but sometimes it happens. It's always the junglers that do that stuff, by the way.
Got to hit our camps, man. Got to hit our camps, Tim.
I'm joking with you, Nathan.
No, I'm a jungle. I know when if my Syndra's fed, I'm playing with my Syndra on every wave.
That's good.
I'm a good jungler, Tim. I'm a good jungler.
So yeah, so my thought process here is I want to shift up. Like I know I have some vision. I don't have vision over the bot side, those bushes, and my Jarvan's clearing up, right? So me pushing
you're not
up
allowed to walk up to here. You can't walk up to the
Too risky. That's right. So just nicely sync up with the boys. Big mistake would be teleporting top. Massive, massive blunder is porting top right there. And also, I'm just signaling my team. I don't want them to do much right there. Because they killed Cannon. If we take a fight, it's 4v5. It's not ideal. Now they do kill the Karma, luckily, right here. And now I'm a bit more open to fighting. I'm just specifically counting the numbers. That's what I'm doing. Pushing out the wave here. Make sure that I force the enemies to respond. Counting numbers. I see Pantheon W in. Pull the trigger with the TP. In hindsight, wasn't necessary. But it was my thought process here. I did want to make sure that my team didn't die. We do lose mid turret, but the enemies lose a big wave upon bot because we shoved it out quite well. So now, next objective, most important thing, dragon. So you see that I'm pinging the dragon, and the deeper I can push top lane wave, the harder it's going to be for the enemies to contest that dragon because they also need to respond to the top lane wave first. Otherwise, they're once again going to be losing minions. So in this case, I'm just nicely killing the minions. Keep my E up for a random Pantheon that might just pop up here. I don't want to be randomly using my E if I don't have to. It's my own self-beating tool. Right, here's when I buy the Magi's because I don't have enough for Zonias. So it's the only good buy that I can actually go for. I would just nicely open up through mid here.
Yeah, there's the miss, Tim. There's a miss.
There's a miss. Try to fish for some ease. Most importantly, keep up mid lane control right now.
Mid wave priority, most important part of the mid game, I always say.
Yep.
Especially when you're ahead. I should never see the wave in a neutral state. Whenever that happens, I get really angry. I mean, to be honest, I'm even angry that your team's even fighting with this next mid wave here, Tim. Are you upset about this as well? Like, just be on the next mid wave. What are they doing?
Oh man, this shit pissed me off because Cannon is top right now for no reason because this is Soul with full dragon control. So that already pissed me off. But then what happens is that Olaf actually got a nice flank through these portals and he got behind us. So he got a big position.
Yeah, this place doesn't make sense. Guys, next midwife. I always say in the mid game, it's so funny I'm seeing this here.
Yeah.
Tim, if I ever see this and I see you're ahead like this, I get very, very angry in my reviews. Very, very angry, Tim. You should never see... This wave should already be dead and deleted, you know? Like, way in advance.
I think I should do a better job. I should do a better job pinging here.
Ping it. I agree, Tim. Take some responsibility there.
Absolutely. I should do a much better job pinging. Jojo Pume would have pinged that shit from base.
Jarvans like to go in, Tim. They like to go, you know, EQ. They see an opportunity. They don't care about mid-wave.
That's absolutely right. So yeah, eventually I do stall a lot of time and I do have a very nice R finishing off the Pantheon. So the fight wasn't too bad. We somewhat salvaged it, but given our position, this was of course absolutely illegal.
It's fine. Yeah. So it was sort of probably a good not the worst outcome. You just trade 3 for 3. It's like not ideal, but it could have been, you know, should have been probably an ace from them.
That's right.
Into maybe Baron, if you didn't kill the Pantheon.
Yep. So we're faster. We get the soul. And from this point, I think they FF the game.
So it's FF the game. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, that lane phase was just beautiful, Tim. It's like an art form. Syndra art. I just witnessed Syndra art right there. It is. E usage, really important. Anything else we should recap from this game that you think you did really well here, Tim?
Syncing tempo.
Syncing tempo, playing with your teammates. Yeah. I feel like, I mean, that's obviously, you know, a bit more, you know, higher level concept. Do you teach that to Syndras in gold, in platinum? Or
I start looking at that from high plat emerald is when I really start looking at, okay, like look actually what your jungle is doing and matching wave states with what they do, because it's as simple as just anticipating what your jungle is doing. If you're in platinum and emerald, you understand where your jungle is going to go. You can read the map like that. So it's a concept that if you get very good at it, it's gonna skyrocket your LP massively.
And especially again with Syndra, where you're so immobile. Like I feel like some other champs can get away with that, not playing with their team plays like psychopaths, like Katarina, Kiana. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's a lot of mages that are quite immobile.
Even
I guess that's
Azir.
just a skill of playing mages. Yeah, Zia. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, good stuff, Tim. Let's now move into our tier list.
Oh.
Okay, Tim. What we're going to do is we're going to rank matchups and put these in our categories for mid lane. So this is going to be more lane phase. I guess you can maybe we could do maybe a variation quickly at the end of like holistically. It's like I don't like that champ's easy in lane, but I don't really like playing that champ. That champ is a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
So we got very hard skill matchup, which is sort of like medium, and then easy matchups.
Yeah.
For Syndra. All right, so let's go down the list.
Okay.
Just quickly here, where we think here. Ari, where would Ari go? Skill matchup.
Ari used to be perceived as an easy matchup, and it definitely isn't the hardest matchup. But if you play against a really good Ari, she's just going to be able to minimize. It's just going to be a pure skill matchup. Absolutely. Yep.
Akali, assassins.
Yeah, so I would put a lot of these type of champs in skill, but if I'm going to look at more from the average point of
the average player,
I'll put it in
Tim's
hard.
insane Syndra.
I would put it on hard.
Okay, yeah. I sort of, I guess what we're going to see is maybe categories of champions, like certain champions that like you're going to struggle with. So it seems like maybe really immobile assassins might be a little bit rough for you as Syndra, I assume. Right. Akshar mid lane.
Easy. Really easy. He can never enter your range, and you can always bump him away with E. Just make sure E usage is good, and it's going to be such a free matchup.
And Nivea, I imagine, quite an easy one, potentially.
Very easy.
Very easy, because you have just so much more range. I feel like a Nivea just gets obliterated by Syndra.
She also can just... her R gets denied by your E as well. So, very easy matchup.
Does Annie have a lot of kill threat on you?
No. It's really hard for her to get in range. Of course, if you play against a really insane Annie, you might struggle, but your wave clear is just going to outpower her. And make sure you get... If you ever fall in range of getting one shot, just get a Negatron Cloak and everything's solved.
I feel like when you get Banshees, like you get Banshees probably against an Annie, I feel like it's quite simple.
Banshees or Mercs, it's really hard for her to play.
Aurelion Sol in lane phase.
Tim. Very easy in my opinion. Really easy to beat.
Low range. Again, it was sort of seen like champs that can't get into your range seem like it's just going to be an easy matchup for you.
Especially with
sort of like the Olaf that we saw. Like the Olaf that we saw, right?
That's right.
Aurora.
Skill. Very similar to Ari. Yeah.
Azir.
I would say this is a skill matchup as well. Yep, a really good Azir can make it pretty tricky for you.
He has dashes. He can engage on you with no flash. Like you got to be a little bit careful against Azir, it seems.
That's right. He can extend his his auto attack range with his W. He has some tools for sure.
Brand, Cassio, Diana, with all these being easy, again, fit in the category of sort of can't get into your range, or is Brand a bit more rangy?
Okay, so let's put it from the perspective of the average player. Brand's definitely easy. I would say Cassiopeia is also pretty easy. But Diana, I wouldn't put her in easy tier because a lot of people just don't know how to play against her. I'll put her in a skill matchup. If you know how to beat her, she's going to be quite easy. If you don't know how to beat her, you're going to get murdered.
And that's because she has so much kill threat with the double E and especially with no flash.
The people just don't know how to dodge her Q.
That's the problem you find.
That's the problem. Yeah.
I see.
Right.
Corki.
I would put him in the same category as Akshan, but he's a bit harder because he has a little bit more lane power, and you can't really mess up an E. If you mess up an E, he's instantly Wing on your face and nuking you pretty hard. Yep.
Echo, low range, but blocks your ult with his ult.
Echo is an interaction that he can avoid your E with a specific combo. So unless you absolutely nail every fundamental of this matchup, it's going to be a hard to very hard matchup.
Wow.
Yeah. Especially in the side. I would put it in very hard for the average Syndra player.
Very hard.
Very hard.
I see. Okay.
Yep.
What's your ban, out of curiosity, when you play Syndra?
I ban usually the champ that I don't like in the meta. So
right
a
now?
little bit of backstory, Nathan. 2 years ago, I was playing Syndra like every game. Like I set myself a goal. I just played like 100 Syndra games in a row, and I blue won every game 2 years ago. I only had like a 48% win rate on her. But what happened is I learned all of the bad matchups. Because what happens, they would just literally pick Yasuo into me. I played like 10 Yasuo games in a row. I solved that matchup a month later. And I never lose versus that champ again because I spent all the time 2 years ago figuring it out. Every matchup is solvable in this champion. It really is. Because of how flexible your tools are in the lane. So if you really get good in the champ, every matchup is going to be skill or easy, in my opinion. But I think that for the average player, it's brutal. Really brutal. Yeah.
Fizz, I assume, would also fit that category.
For the average player, it's brutal matchup. Very hard.
Very hard. Very hard. Wow.
Yep.
Galio, low range.
It's skill or easy. He has some gank setup, but you can minimize very well for sure.
Hawaii, long range champion, or is this just farm? You guys are both just farm and scaling.
Absolute skill matchup. Most control versus control mage matchups, better mage player will win.
Okay, someone who could use their range better, hit their abilities, are just better at their abilities.
So micro intensive. Really, really heavy trading. Yep.
Aurelia.
I think she's a bit easier than the Fizz and the Echoes, because Fizz and Echoes have tools to dodge your E. Aurelia does not, so I'd put her in hard.
Kassadin.
Matchup-wise, so easy.
But this could get a bit difficult as the game goes on.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Just jump on your head.
That's right.
I always get scared when I see a Kassadin versus Syndra. I feel like I got to do something as a jungler. It's like, okay, I got to use Syndra's, you know, I got to utilize her as an easy matchup, pressure in the Kassadin, Bokin, Bullion to do things, to get proactive, to stack objectives, get
That's
towers. Right. Jace.
Skill matchup.
Karina.
I think the average player would say hard because she also has a tool
Assassin.
where she can just jump over your E. That's right.
Kale?
Easiest matchup in the game. Can't ever win you. Wow. It's just
you'll never lose to a Kale.
Can't lose to Kill. If you lose to that champ, there's something you're messing something up. That's right.
You are the main
hardest champ in the game to verse. LeBlanc is still one that if I play against a good LeBlanc, it's still one that I just sweat for.
You sweat for. Okay, so top of very hard.
Yes, this is the hardest matchup that I verse still sometimes. Yeah, that's right.
Lux, Malzahar, Mel, I assume fit the category of mage skill.
No, all Lux, Malzahar easy. Mel is a bit more skill oriented, for sure.
Okay, so what makes these champs easy? They don't have high range, and
so Lux is a champ that cannot beat your wave clear, and Malzahar is a champ that cannot beat your range. So you outrange him and you match his wave clear. You can proc those little voidlings really easily, and that makes it both quite hard for those champs to contest you.
Lysandra. Low range, right?
Low range, exactly.
I feel like you could burn her ult so easily and bait it out, and like I feel like a good Syndra that's hidden abilities, Lysandra seems like really bad into that.
Yeah, really hard, very very hard. That's right.
Neferi.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. The new Neferi, I've not versed once on Syndra. I've got no clue if this matchup is hard or not. I think that she has some similarities as to Fizz with her E, or with a W, but I don't think she's that hard because she doesn't really have the extra dashing tools pre-6 to get on top of you. So I'd probably put her in skill because of that.
Orianna, mage skill?
Yes, I think Orianna is one that is probably the hardest mage together with Victor.
Top of skill, okay. Victor as well.
Victor as well.
Where's our Victor?
Yeah, you just put it next to it. That's right. Nico, same story.
Nico.
Same
story as skill?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, but she's low range, isn't she?
Her Q is actually pretty high range. Her Q is a very annoying, strong trading tool in the early game. And it's just a pure who has the better movement, who has the better wave management, who has the better laning fundamentals that will win, for sure. Yep.
Does Pantheon fit our Olaf category?
Pretty easy.
Easy?
Sure. Yep.
What about then a Yone then?
So, Yone is a bit interesting because I think if you play against a very good Yone, he will be able to get stuff done. But I would say in my experience, playing versus Yone in lane has been quite easy.
Okay.
He's so linear. So easy to know exactly when his trade timings are, and dodging out and preventing that from happening with your E is just very easy to do. Yep.
Rise and Veigar and Talia, mages, are they skills?
I would say Veigar's pretty easy. I would say that Talia and Rise are very similar to Ahri and Aurora. What happens, they are shorter range than you, but what happens is that if they play the waves really well, they can kind of out-wave clear you pre your Q upgrades. So pre-Q upgrade, they can just kind of minimize by offensive defense on the waves. So therefore, it's just a pure skill matchup.
Yep. Another assassin, Kiana. I imagine that a lot of players the average player would struggle with this.
The average player will definitely struggle, for sure.
Hard or very hard?
Hard. It's just, if you just play the fundament, that's what I want to note about all of these champs, the top 6 champs, except for LeBlanc. If you play your fundamentals really well, like no mistakes in your fundamentals, all of these matchups will be completely fine for you. You'll just minimize. You can even win some of them very easily. But if you make mistakes fundamentally, you get punished so hard, like so hard. And once you fall behind, you're going to get blasted from that point. Yep.
Swain,
yes.
Easy?
Unplayable for him. Yeah, just easy.
Unplayable for him, yep. Too much range. Silas, does he fit sort of the Aurelia category here?
He does. That's right.
Yeah, if he can engage on you, a little bit slippery. If he, you stuff up your E, he's going to go high on you.
Yep, that's right.
Yasuo as well.
Very hard.
Very hard. This is the the matchup that you said that how to minimize and play.
Anytime.
But
yes.
Anytime. You're happy to play against this, but they're very hard for the average player.
One of my best content on the MLA, guys, is the matchup hot seat and the example versus Yasuo. If you really want to get specific to how to beat this champion and get specific on lane fundamentals, amazing resources.
Join the MLA. It's a shout out to the MLA there.
Exactly.
Tim's got it there for you. Tim will solve your problem. Tim will solve your Yasuo
I will solve all your Syndra problems. Literally. Syndra, I will solve all of it. That's right.
Ziggs, high range, mage, skill?
Mage v mage. I would put it next to Wei. If it's a hard one to quantify. If it would just be farm fest if both players are good.
Yeah.
That's right.
Zoe, same thing.
I would definitely put it skill matchup next to Nico. She has some tools where she is going to struggle post your Q upgrade. But before that, if you misplay your waves, you're really, really struggling. It's just fundamental gameplay.
Vlad.
Pretty easy, in my opinion.
Just can't get in range of you.
No, that's right.
Could burn his pool pretty easily, I assume, as well. His W.
It's just really hard. The first 2 or 3 levels, he could just literally run past the wave and hit you. As long as you can avoid that until you have your E, then he can't do that anymore, and then you're going to be completely fine. So take it a bit easy first 4 levels. Afterwards, you're going to be chilling. I'm
guessing Vel'Koz fits in the Malzahar Lux category.
Yeah, you could say that he's like a control mage, but they won't be able to hit their abilities consistently enough.
Sort of just a weak champion in mid lane. So that's sort of why it's not played mid lane. Right. Vex.
Easy.
Got in some engage tools. Easy. Okay, just low range again fits that category.
The champ's just so bad at the moment.
Zed. It's got to be here, right?
Very hard.
Yeah.
I would even
Talon.
Zed very hard for sure. Talon is pretty easy. Why? Because this is an assassin that is linear engage. So all of these things that you see, with some exceptions, of course, of Kiana and Aurelia and Akali, they're also quite linear. But Talon is once he uses his linear stuff, there's no other things that he can do. He's just going to get guided. You can nuke him. Akali has the shroud. She can run away. Aurelia has extra dashes. Sylas is really hard to deny his linear engage. You have to have the timing right perfectly. Also a matchup that if you learn Sylas, the Sylas matchup, every single second spent studying that one is going to make it so much easier for you to go about it, for sure.
Xerath? Does that fit again, the category here? Skill, okay. So a bit better than Malzahar,
way
a bit
better.
harder than Malzahar, Vel'Koz, Lux. Is that just because you think it's just a better champion, or what specifically about that?
So the thing with Xerath is that he outranges you with more damage. So this matchup, if you don't know how to play the waves correctly, you're going to get blasted by his poke. That's true. Yep.
Twist of Fate, I'm interested. Where the hell does that go? You don't take cleanse, right? Against Twist of Fate, you still like TP?
That's right. The problem with Twist Fate is that he is also a champ that really struggles getting in your range. So I've found that Twist Fate is pretty easy matchup to generally verse. Of course, if you play against really good Twisted Fates, you run into this issue where he's going to be able to leverage gang setup. He's going to be able to play waves creatively and get stuff done on the side. But overall, for the average player, it's a pretty easy matchup. Yep.
We've got our AD carry, Corki, Akshan, Tristana.
Trist, I would put in skill. Because of the fact that the interaction between Tristana W and Syndra E can be a bit funky sometimes. If you don't know the precise way to use it, it's very hard to use it correctly. So definitely skill matchup. Karma as well. Skill
and matchup. Karma last.
Yeah. So why is Karma a skill matchup? Her early lane strength is so overpowering that she can just kind of stat check you in a way in the first few levels. So Karma is just a skill matchup in that regard. Yep.
Okay. Are you happy for this for the lane matchups here, Tim?
For sure. Absolutely.
Now, if we were to make a tier list, move some around in terms of just playing against holistically, like you just wouldn't like to see on the enemy team, would any of these move up? Like Kassadin, does that move up to very hard?
Hard, I would put Kassadin hard for sure. I think the rest is somewhat decent already.
What would you not like to see on the enemy team? What about a Vlad? I feel like Vlad could get a bit annoying.
No, I don't give a fuck about Vlad. You
don't care about Vlad.
No, you just can't match your wave clear. You see how fast that wave clear was last game?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Vlad's
going to take a long time.
It's just so slow. That's right. No, I think that all of these champs, they I think Akshan is one that can get a bit annoying because he's just invis, is like the Eve effect. I would not put him on hard, but rather skill. If it's for the later parts of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty. For the later part of the game, I would then put champs like Yasuo like down, for example. Like Yasuo just becomes a skill match because this champ, there's no one that can execute that champ well enough in the mid game and fights that it's a hard matchup later down the line. If someone picks Yasuo to me, I know I'm going to win the game because they won't be able to get strong enough.
Jump down as well, I feel like.
It really depends because Syndra is so hard to quantify with his ultimates, right? If he has Malphite ult or Maokai ult, you're screwed. You're just literally screwed. But
yeah, so it depends on the ults. Yeah.
I would put Aurelia in skill as well. Easier later down the lane. This Yasuo effect. Champ's too hard. No one can play her. Zed I would also put down from very hard to hard. Fizz I would put down from very hard to skill. Because these champs don't function that well in the mid game.
They don't function, and they're just so hard to execute. Like these are just the hard, mid game champs to close out the game with.
Yeah,
you can get a lead, but playing the mid game is going to be a whole different story.
Yeah, LeBlanc's also hard, but I think that LeBlanc has just a very easy time executing in the side. So I would say that LeBlanc is still in very hard.
Still in very hard. Yeah. Okay. This is the bane of your existence, LeBlanc.
Yeah, if you need a ban, if it's popular, ban LeBlanc. If it's not popular, ban Yasuo. Because Yasuo is always popular. That's right.
All right, Tim. We've got lots of knowledge over the first, these sections so far of the video. Let's now apply all that to an Emerald Syndra player.
Let's do it.
Okay, Tim, this is our Emerald player. We're going to be comparing your game, your knowledge with. We're going to see it all in real time. Emerald 3 player, Syndra main, almost a one-trick. Syndra then Garen, that's an interesting combination. But, 193 games, 54% win rate. Yeah. Peaked at Emerald 2, mostly being a platinum player, Emerald, but, sort of hot. We're sort of, been around this rank for pretty much our whole career, pretty much, right? Platinum 4 as well. Emerald obviously didn't exist in 2021.
Yep.
So very much a Syndra that needs help. Syndra that needs help, yeah. So what's the first thing that you're going to look at? This is the game that we're going to be reviewing. Do you want to start with the build for this game here, Tim?
Holy moly. When I look at this guy, I see the most criminal offenses that we can make when it comes to the build department.
Okay.
and rune.
We didn't talk about Leandri's at all, by the way.
This item is just not good on Syndra. Like it's disgustingly bad on Syndra because Syndra is a burst-oriented champ, not a damage over time oriented champion.
Look how often Leandri's.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Leandri's. Wow.
The worst thing is he combines it with Luden's. If you go Leandri's, like if you do it, go Blackfire Leandri's. Don't go Luden's Leandri's. That combination doesn't really work well. Very low haste. What is that tier even? What are we looking at?
Mana flow. It doesn't take mana flow band.
Oh, yeah. You just have a different strategy then, I see. This guy is on a different level. So we're maybe laughing a bit about it. But like first time we were looking for this guy for Syndra players, right? When I saw this, I was like, holy shit, what am I witnessing here?
This is criminal.
Ghosts as well. What is that thing in the middle? What is that? That's down there. Below that. Tenacity?
Tenacity and slow resist. Is that every game? This guy is really trying to cook. This guy is trying to reinvent the wheel. This makes no sense, right? So, but again, try and get into these thought process. What problems is he trying to solve? He's trying to solve with mana problems.
Yeah, he's got some
with presence of mind, with tier. He's trying to get move speed. He feels like he's dying a lot. He needs survivability, and this may be his survivability, but this is not going to save you. That's an asset.
No, it's not going to save you. You get CC'd, you're dead already. But he's got the right idea with the move speed. I like that he's trying out Phase Rush. Phase Rush, we didn't mention it before, but it's not a bad rune on Syndra at all. It's not a bad rune. If you love this rune, feel free to take it. Not something I personally like, but it's not a bad rune at all. He's going on like scaling route with the Gathering Storm, Axiom Arcanist, ultimate focused. Very unique, like a bit of a jack of all trades in a way is what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah. Okay, and then you, as you said, Ghost.
Yeah.
We again trying to solve the move speed issue, but we can't play mid game. You're saying without teleport, it's just impossible. Just
hard.
Zero. It's super inconsistent.
Yep. So I'm especially curious to see how his mid game is going to develop in the game that we're going to be looking at.
So yeah, played a lot of Syndra. This guy plays a lot of the game. But recently got a bit of a win streak. But again, like, we're going to have inconsistencies. It sounds like the build, not a fan of here, Tim. So let's just jump into the gameplay and let's see it in action. Going back to your VOD, you said that the first thing that you think about level 1 is your matchup and how you're going to use E. We're versing a Rise here. Mm-hmm. Rise was in the skill section, was it?
Skill section. That's right.
Skill section. So what are we thinking here in terms of this Rise matchup?
So before we go into the Rise matchup, there is a very massive mistake that this Syndra made already before even queuing up, and that's he chose the pay to lose skin, which is the Spirit Blossom. Oh, okay. You got to get very specific. The best Syndra skin is base Syndra, guys. I really want you guys to understand. If you play with skins like these, I understand that you're not climbing because you're just going to be not inconsistent with your abilities. The feeling of the champ's just off. You gotta get specific.
Look at these little butterflies. This doesn't do any damage.
No,
like tickling no damage. You know what I mean? Like, what is butterfly? I want to see the scary, orbs of darkness, like a black hole, exactly. Right? Like, that's scary.
That's right. But no, to get more serious note, right? First, Rise, Mage versus Mage matchup. One of the key things that we're going to try to do is slow push waves into him, because in Mage versus Mage, range versus range, what you'll find is that if you get the slow push, you get a lot of trading windows. So we're going to try to do that. So I love that he's actually walking in with his wave. Now, I hate this because he's AFK. He should be instantly walking up with his wave, pressuring Rise, and his tethering should be closer towards him. Rise has shorter range than him. That means that we need to step up a little bit closer towards the Rise in our Q range outside of Rise's ability range.
Okay, so we're looking to threaten with Qs. Not auto attacks, you're just looking to threaten with Qs.
That's right. If we ever get
auto attacks aggro the wave. So is that why we don't want to auto attack? We want to Q and then run away. Is that right? Because again, your idea is you don't get hit by abilities because auto attack.
100 to 0 oriented trades is what we want. We don't care about the wave hitting us for a second, because that might actually be good because we might get pushed into him. But if we are in auto attack range, he can W us, and that's when we're going to lose.
Okay, so we want to do damage without taking any damage, and you could do that because your range is higher than Rise's range with your Q. That's the principle.
That's right.
So you're saying here we're playing way too scared, way too defensive.
A little bit too defensive, yeah. Rise's threat is a little bit... it's just very bound to his range. And as long as we just tether his range, we should be fine. But overall, if this would be a Syndra review that I would be doing from someone of the program, I wouldn't mind it. Because what I'm trying to look at is, are we getting towards our Q upgrade and our Lost Chapter consistently? And if
those are the main reference points.
Exactly. And if he plays a little bit more safe, I don't care. Doesn't
Sure.
matter.
Yeah, this is not the difference. This is not why he's not struggling to get to Master Tier or whatever. He can play like this. It's fine.
Exactly. That's right. So of course there's ways to optimize it, but it's fine. As long as he gets there, it's okay.
All right, let's look at our first E, Tim. You say E usage is what this champion is. Why do we miss our first E?
I think in this case, the ID was there. I think that he tried to time it with the last hit. I just think that he was a bit inconsistent with where he's positioning himself.
Just bad cursor or position in.
If you go a bit back, what you see is that if the last hit's going to go on the right, that he wants to punish him on, right? Where we want to stand is we want to also stand on the right. We want to stand closer to Rise. What we can do is we can actually stand way closer to him instead of that far away, which means that we can
So
make
like
it
here, we can go more here.
no down the
here.
lane.
Okay, down the lane.
Exactly. And
okay.
That way we're going to be dancing the tango a bit with Rise. If you want to harass, if you want to pressure, stand on the same side of the wave. If you want to avoid and create distance, you want to go to the opposite side because there's
opposite,
more
which is what
distance.
he's doing here. Okay, so he should be on the same side as Rise here.
That's what we're going to try to do. That's right. And it's a little bit of consistency of when to throw the ability, what to look for on the enemy champion when they're standing still. It seems that he's not really mastered what to look for just yet. Waves, that's great. If we can slow push this out, pressurize a little bit by standing a little bit closer to him, that would be fantastic.
So when you say slow push, like sort of wait for the next wave and just last hit.
Just last hit, and make sure that you prevent him from thinning out the wave heavily, and then you can pressure him. So he's playing quite scared.
Yeah, very scared. And he's going to be able to just full control the wave and thin out the wave. There's going to be no slow pushes happening here because Rise is just clearing the wave because he's not threatened by Syndra at all.
That's right.
Cool. Yeah, and we're just on the opposite side. There's a bit of a better trade there.
Yep. It's another trading combo you can use. QE into W for longer range. Not one that I really like to use in lane because I like to put my points in Q. And if I'm going to need to use my Q when it's just for the stun and not for the actual hit of the Q, you're not really dealing any damage. It's only for a passive stack. He's doing an okay job though. Like it's also quite all right. He's doing a nice job with the leaning here. What we see, especially with this Syndra player, is he has a lot more of these. His hands are way looser when it comes to his ability usage. He's way happier just throwing out his stuff and instead of just looking for it high percentage wise. Holy fucking shit. That was nice. I respect it.
I could already maybe sense, you know how we talked about in the mid game, level 6+, Tim, how you weren't really looking to kill your opponent? I have a feeling we're going to see this guy try and kill Rise 24/7 with R and ignore his team and not play around that whole push mindset. I'm already starting to feel, if I see that, I'm really concerned, right?
I respect it though. This is a guy on a mission here. That's good.
I like to call it the monkey brain. Like I see banana, I go. Like I see low HP person, I go. You know, it's like the monkey banana brain.
Okay, so I love this QE. Really good QE into W. Wave state is perfect for it. So very nice QE. Beautiful bit of poke. I love what he's doing. This guy has some serious wave management when he holds him on his side, though. Very nice job. Slightly turning this wave into a slow push into him. Now, the only problem here is that Rise did get an opportunity to move because of the tempo being so desynced. And that explodes the game. You see that this is just chaos everywhere, right? It's not controlled. It's shit happening everywhere.
Push and move? What do you think about this roam, Tim?
Yeah, so it can work, but the only problem is that I don't really like roaming into Brown, because Brown just blocks your ult with his shield. In this case, it does a pretty good job. If it would work as well, if Ezreal goes mid and you can swap up the lanes like we did in my example, where it's more efficient, it can work. In this case, we have the goat part that actually holds the wave. And Wow, what a beast. I need those supports in my games, actually. So you see that this guy is on the mindset, I'm killing shit. You see what he's just looking to kill people. That's what he's trying to do. This is end of review.
Yeah. Not comfortable just scaling.
Yeah.
You know, feel like he has to win the game now. Because, I mean, to be honest, this looks right now what you were doing, Tim, at like, 20 minutes or whatever. You know how you said you know you were looking for a pick and assassination, but we don't really have the damage to kill him at this point, and we sort of need, as you said, more splinters, right? Like, don't we just, more passive stacks? Like, what do we see here? Because sort of trying to set up Dragon, but like we have a perfect wave state here, don't we?
Gotta farm it up. That's right.
So yeah, so you say this is like where you say you would end a review for the student. Is that because their mindset's wrong, or
now look what's gonna happen with the wave? We just lose so many minions, we just can't come back from this.
Yeah, it's just that you just can't come back. I say.
Come back. Yeah, and that's okay, right? This happens, and I would give this to the very simple learning objective. Okay, what we're gonna try to do is we're gonna just very simply shift our focus. I want you to not kill the opponent at all and fully focus upon getting strong and playing towards your reference points. That's very simply what I would do.
See what that feels like first. Then you can get more creative with trying to kill people, because I feel like a lot of players don't know what it feels like to just like, wait, I can actually win a game by like ignoring my lane laner or just playing high farm and then just like, push move and playing around my team. All that stuff we talked about in your VOD review.
That's right.
It's sort of like, it's like mind-boggling to people, especially this person probably thinks again, kill. It's the only way I can win games with Syndra. I drop off, I don't scale.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting. So what I'm wondering, right, is with the current stuff that we're seeing right here, this guy is Emerald. He's consistently Emerald. And that means that there's a lot of stuff that he's doing well as well. So what I'm working, if he's doing stuff like this, but he's doing really well and still being able to maintain Emerald, what is he doing so well? Maybe this skill, this talent of killing people is something that he leverages later in the game, that he fights these creative angles. That's what's able to keep him up here.
You also said that his wave control was quite good as well, Tim.
Yeah, I think it was okay in the beginning. It was decent. You see that he is struggling a bit landing his QEs consistently. He's struggling anticipating movement, and he doesn't really know what to look out for as well. He's not really timing it properly. He's kind of just flipping it. And once you start flipping these QEs, they become very inconsistent.
And this is what you say you see from Syndra players. They just throw out the E. I mean, we're not doing it on cooldown, but we are just fishing for them. So what would your mindset be with E? Again, should your mindset to not be on the opposite side? You should be in front of Ryze here and look into...
Oof, it's now different because we're now so behind that I would not interact with Ryze that much.
You can't interact, okay. So you have to be doing what he's doing. He's on the side here. But then, so you're just holding E, are you? Waiting for him to walk into you, or just holding E, waiting for him to walk into you? All the way for last hit?
Hold my E. I would be happy if he pushes into me, very simply because of how the tempo is looking upon the map right now. I want him to push into me. I'm going to thin out the wave, trade with WQ, keep my E, and then I'm going to hold the wave, 1 or 2 minions outside of my turret range, turning that wave into a slow push, once again syncing up tempo with my team, because my slow push will then be able to crash when my team's ready to play. That's my mindset. It's not about the 1v1. It's all about how do I link up my power with my team.
Yeah. Not about the 1v1.
Not about the 1v1.
That's probably going to be the caption for this, the thumbnail. It's not about the 1v1.
Stop 1v1ing.
Stop 1v1ing, yes.
So we get a Q upgrade here, I think. Curious to see what he's going to do right now.
And you're curious because this is where you start wave clearing. This is where you become wave clear, controlling the lane.
So there's some stuff that you can do with that is basically giving the enemies no form of counterplay. Because you can put your balls in specific positions in the wave that you can clear the wave and block the enemies from entering it. And then you can combine trading with clearing the wave. And it gets very specific at that point. But you can completely block off enemy interaction from that point and just slowly chip away.
So we're not comfortable base in here?
I think there's some emotions going on here in this game. The Ezreal moving mid. I think there's some...
again, angry. Can't accept it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Ezreal goes back bot. Good work.
We're missing every QE, by the way. I would give that a learning objective as well. That can just be an individual learning objective that I would just give. Is just focus on landing your QEs. And then I would supply them with some things to look at very specifically. And also very specifically how to review it in the game. And then 3 weeks later, we'd have the E usage completely covered. So I like this. This was a pretty creative move. Defending the wave. If Volibear now moves mid, you see that the Emerald players, they're just not efficient when it comes to lane rotations, where to be on the map. If Volibear just moved mid,
Volibear should be going mid.
Everything's solved.
Yeah. And you're happy to lane with your 2 orbs, your Q upgrade, because you're safe. You could just play the wave clear duty.
Easy.
In the side lane.
That's right. I like where he's positioning. I like that he's moving away. But yeah. It's definitely not an ideal death. We're losing a big wave again. So with all of the waves that he's missed, the fact that he's 90 CS isn't even that bad. Actually.
Are you serious? Are you sure about that, Tim? 14 minutes? He's level 9. His counterpart was level 11.
Yeah, no, I think with all of the waves that he's missed, he's done a pretty decent job getting the rest of the CS.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Okay, given that, yeah.
I think he's missed like 9 waves or something like that. So here's, well, a bit of inefficiency when it comes to the side laning. Like, this is just mid-game fundamentals, map state calibration. Not pushing this extra wave is just massive. Because what's going to happen right now is if we play this out, is that this next wave will become neutral. And all of these waves, all of these minions to start dying. Right here. If you push out that extra wave, you're going to make sure that you get the crash. And then the wave will push a little bit harder, a little bit slower into you. Which means that later down the line, you're going to get a little bit more extra minions.
So you're saying a big thing that mid laners miss is that, or mid-game fundamentals, there's like, this wave's cleared. I have a roam timer. They don't think about the next wave because their wave's right here, right? That's a big problem, do you see?
Where do we even begin when it comes to mid-game fundamentals, Nathan? Because mid-game is so hard.
Big problem for mid laners.
Oh, it's so hard. And I don't blame him because I struggled with that for years on end myself as well. So you can't blame anyone. It's just, you just got to accept the difficulty of it and just slowly chip away years on end because, man, is it hard to read mid-game.
Especially as an immobile mid,
Yeah.
I think it's probably the hardest mid game to have as a mid lane mage, right? Like
really
every other
hard.
role seems, mid AD carries just sit mid, like if you're support, top laners can usually most of the time fend for themselves. Mid lanes is hard mode.
Yeah, it's a combination of being super efficient with your farm while still being on the right place on the right side of map. Mid lane, mid game fundamentals are crazy hard for sure. So the lane assignments are not ideal. One of the problems is that we don't have teleport, right? So we're kind of sending Ezreal to the side, but we kind of don't want that as well. It's not like we can do much about it. Oh my god.
So why did this not work? Because you say that when you R into E, it's guaranteed to hit.
Yeah, so what happens here is that...
So we R.
Yeah.
Then we E. It's just too slow on the E.
Yeah, look what he does.
Oh, the E's not up.
Look what he does.
He only hits 2 balls instead of all of them. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's
or just positions it correctly?
Yeah, he flash forwards, flash E's, and then he only shoots 2. The only way to dodge R into E combo is if someone flashes away from it. That's the only way to go about it. But even then, it's hard to do. So that was nice. I love the creativity in that QE combo from the Fog of War. That's something that is very powerful to use, the Fog of War. And this Syndra seems to be doing a really nice job. This was very, very good. And we see
this is good. This is because then they can't dodge it, right? It's a guaranteed hit QE.
Yep. Very powerful one. I love that. So we see that his creativity here gets a little bit, it shows a bit here. It's a massive shutdown. Beautiful E right there. Getting a double stun. I like how he approaches this fight. It's nice and slow. Pretty decent threat assessment here in this fight. Goes for the kill into the Senna again. Decides to eventually go for the Brown. Nice job. He does a very nice job here. Good skirmishing. So the biggest thing that I see with this guy is that he's just inconsistent. All across the board. He's kind of just looks like he's a bit autopiloting, going with the flow, instead of specifically looking at things. He doesn't really know what to look for. He doesn't really know what to do, and he's just letting the League of Legends waves ride him here.
Yeah, letting the game play out. So just a passenger.
Out. That's right.
Yeah, we're just like landed some. I was like, look at this whole sequence here. We sort of just run mid.
No
with
intention.
Ezreal. No intention, right? Like we're not going to bot. Like you just assume you go bot wave here, right? There's no objective up. Like we're just look at this. Like this just seems awkward to me. A mage running in no vision like this. This doesn't look right.
No,
it's crazy. It's ludicrous.
That's right. Yeah, the biggest thing.
And the build's shocking as well, right? And this build is just really bad.
Completely shocking.
You said that if you have AP on your team, you need to get Sork Shoes. This would be a Sork Shoes. Does Volibear count as AP?
You don't need to get Sork Shoes. You can get Sork Shoes.
Okay. So Swifties is a good default though.
Swifties is a nice default for sure. But Sork Shoes, you won't really go wrong with it as well. So pretty decent skirmishing here. See that he's getting a little bit better. He's just kind of moving with the team, landing some ease. And I think if this would be a new coaching client, right, and this would be the review that he would bring me, this would give me so much information on how we can actually help him. Because this guy, he has a lot of different parts of the game that he is just missing information. So there's the stuff that he doesn't know. And that's something that I would be able to provide him, and it would be making very easy for me to slowly, over the course of a couple of months, start implementing these concepts one by one, because he's been a bit of a longer term player already, and start creating better habits and also telling him what he needs to look for. And a player like this, like if he's already emerald with this stuff right here, and we can add some intention to this and some good process over time, we can make a monster out of him. A monster. Because he has already this creativity. He's getting pretty good here in the mid game, landing his ease. He's just not on the right place on the right time, and his efficiency is just not really there.
Just got to clean up some things, Tim. You got to, it's a bit of a messy thing. We got to do some cleaning.
Yeah, we got to do some cleaning here. That's absolutely right. There's a lot of stuff that we need to clean in this one.
So team situation, what position here? Again, I always get sad about this mid wave here, but I guess he has to help the dragon, right? It's just a really bad position if it's Syndra. It's just hot, shocking positioning, right?
It's just a really awkward sequence because Volibear stopped without Ignite. We're onto the dragon. We're taking the dragon, but the fight's impossible to play because it's a 3v4. So
would you just let Warwick just die here and then just push mid wave?
I would control the bush, but I wouldn't commit so that I couldn't escape through the corridor. So
right there. Controlling it stands like so you stand here, like stand there and just threaten. Okay.
That's right.
You're controlling that bush.
Control the bush. QE is fantastic, but instead of then running out right there, make sure that you keep your threat assessment up and run out to the other side. Yep. So I think he says 2 items right now. To compare, I think I reached 2 items at 16 minutes. He reaches at 21. So there's a very big difference in just strength, overall strength here in the game.
And a lot of that comes down to the, that moments we say end of view where just missing so many waves mid. God.
So many waves. He's got 120 CS at 21 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not that much.
And it's like we're running around that playing like an assassin. We're going to do no damage.
Yeah.
Absolutely no damage, yeah.
He's completely lost when it comes to the waves. And
Just running around, look at that, just fishing for QEs, trying to one-shot. I mean, who's he going to one-shot there? Who are we one-shotting there, buddy?
No clue. He's got some decent ease sometimes. Sometimes he's like, he's nailing him sometimes. It was not bad. Look at that, big shutdown. And even though he's not really playing the macro, he's playing decent with his team. He's landing some QEs, and that's one of the things that you have to understand, right? Whenever you play Syndra, especially in the mid game, everyone's overwhelmed in the mid game, and if you get yourself in these 5v5 or like 4v4, just general pick situations, no one's going to dodge your E because no one has the mental capacity to think about your E being up, and everyone gets hit in the mid game. Everyone gets hit, especially these 80 carries. They all get hit. They're all greedy. They just die on cooldown.
Right, so we probably don't need to look at much more, Tim. We're going to do no damage fights again. Big thing with the build. We're just, as you said, we're not looking at our team at all again. Your team's making a play bot side. We're walking up a mid wave. What are we doing here, Tim, right? So just autopilot, just running around. Just, again, riding with the waves of the game and hoping we just win, All right, Tim.
Yeah.
Advice for this guy, Tilted Arrow here, but I guess more general advice. So let's say someone's inspired. They're inspired by your passion with Syndra, Tim. Awesome. Love the strengths of the champ. This is the major that I want to pick up. What advice would you give to someone, the big 20%ers who are looking to pick up this champ and are excited from this video?
Yeah, that's a really good one. I got some data to back that up because in the MLA, I think the Syndra community is the biggest community that we got. And I've done like 4 or 5 Syndra guides over the past 2, 3 years.
Like constantly remade it.
Constantly remade it. Refined it, remade it. And this is like my bread and butter champ, right? And that means that a lot of the players that wanted Syndra reviews came to me. So I've done probably over 200, if not 300 Syndra reviews alone over the past year and a half or like 2 years. What I see, the big 20%ers. Number 1, E usage inaccuracy. E usage inconsistency. Not necessarily in the lane, but in fights and in mid-game situations. What I see is that people blow their QE upon the support with this item up because they want to proc the item. Then they don't have E for 12 seconds. Team gets engaged upon, fight's lost. What I want you to do in these fights is very specifically look at your E. And if you have used your E already, play the fight with the mindset, replay the fight with the mindset that you still have your E up. Then look for angles where you would still use it again. And that's how you can really learn proper E usage. And this is the skill that will compound over time and be the difference maker between you consistently climbing or not on Syndra. E usage. Another thing.
All right, that's the big 20%er. Anything else?
I can once again continue as long as we want here, Nathan. Big thing. R into E combo. It exists. You can stun people for free. Gank setup, R into E combo. It's very easy to learn. Try it in practice for 5 to 10 minutes. One session, you understand the combo. And from then, your skirmishing becomes so much better. Get to Lost Chapter plus refill plus Q upgrade as smooth, as clean as possible. And then really start looking at your jungle and the map state to try to utilize your big wave clear to impact plays upon the map. Big things.
Love it.
Yep.
All right, I think that was a great 20%er, Tim. Last question for you here. I want you to act as a salesman here.
Salesman.
Tim,
yeah.
Why should people pick up and play Syndra? Convinced, because, I was looking for some Syndra players and I don't really see many around, especially around Emerald, Elo. Like, why should people pick up this champion as their mage, as a mid laner?
Okay, so first of all, we have to understand that this is the champ that if you get good on her, you will soar through the ranks, just like I did myself. Very simply, mastery gets rewarded on this champ. If you put in the repetitions, 200, 300 games over the course of a half a year, what you'll find is that you will start getting so good at this champ that not only will you start feeling insanely in control in the lane, but you will feel in control every single game because you know that if you land that one E, change the course of a fight, change the course of a game. This champion is the jack of all trades. It can lane slow. It can dominate lane. It has insane scaling. It has CC tools, strongest ability in the game in the E usage. Not only that, but the micro ceiling is on another level. You can literally drown yourself in this champion. You can dream about this champion, about playing this champ, and you will always get excited. You'll never get bored with her because she has that next level that's always obtainable, and you also know how to obtain it, and it's very easy to review as well. Improving on this champ is absolutely amazing to do. That's why this champion, starting from gold all the way up to challenger, in our tier list for improvement is on the S plus gold-like evergreen tier, because this champ teaches the fundamentals and has the ability to carry and impact every single game.
You sold me, Tim. Absolutely sold me.
You're a mid laner now.
I'm. If I play mid, if I ever do it, Syndra will be my champ.
Absolutely.
Tim. I'm excited.
Very nice.
Wrap it up here. Yep. Final shout outs, Tim. So you coach, you're a full-time coach at the Midland Academy.
That's right.
You are doing 5 sessions a week currently, I think. Is that right? Any MLA members you want to sort of, shout out, or any final things before we wrap up here?
I just want to shout out the Syndra community in MLA. I think we got not only the biggest community in MLA for a reason. It's because the Syndra community in our survey is just so awesome. Everyone is helping each other. Everyone is really excited and positive about this champion. And every single Syndra review I do and will be doing is one of the most fun reviews that I always have. So yeah, it's just the perfect Syndra community out there. Big shout out.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again, Tim, for educating me on Syndra. I learned a lot.
Good learnings.
Episode. Very good learnings.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys on our next episode.
See you guys.